Okay, we are going to watch. Is that better? Which one's better? No, that's not better. Is that better? No, that's not better. That works, I think. Okay. That's funny. Well, we kind of are. Oh, I should remember to actually take the other stream down. Uh, well, since Andrew's here, we're gonna do it. Well, we could do it this way. This way works. Let me take the other stream down before I forget. Uh,
Mm.
okay, the other stream is down, and now we can watch Rabbi Burton. Um, Marcus is stuck in the Vegas airport. Did you
No
leave
bueno.
your car near my place again? Um, okay.
This is very tricky.
Why? Yeah, you can. No, it can. It's good.
Okay.
It's good. It's good.
It's good. It's on?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wait. Okay.
Well, let's not.
You also recording?
Let's do one
Do
and-
separate
If you
audio?
want me to, I'm happy
I
to.
will do separate audio, yeah. Sure. Type of machine. Okay, wonderful. So here's what we want to do. The clock or it's not? Okay, fine. So the halachas of Gerus,
The laws of conversion.
and specifically a difficult Rashi in the sugya of simply the halachas
A difficult Rashi. I'm guessing he means in the Talmud.
of how we treat a ger can serve as a
Ger is a convert.
Rashi is Rashi. What do you mean he's guessing in the Talmud? You're guessing in the
Rashi.
Talmud.
He says a difficult Rashi in the matter of the sugya, the matter of the ger. That's a sugya usually refers to the Talmud. So it's Rashi's commentary on the Talmud, not Rashi's commentary on the Bible.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get you.
it will give us a view, a deep view into the nature of the relationship between Israel and the other nations, what we expect from them, what we want from them, and what we expect really from ourselves, and give us a sense of the Torah's plan for history, we can say. So we have this Gemara in Yevamos.
So it's the Talmud Yevamot. That's the tractate that deals with Levirate marriage.
That tells us how to respond to a non-Jew who seeks to be Megayah. You tell him, what's motivating you to be Megayah? Don't you know that Yisrael these days are persecuted and they suffer? Why would you do this for? That's everyone knows this famous Gemara. That's what we tell the Ger. Why would you do such a crazy thing? If he says, I know all about this and I'm not worthy of that suffering with the Jews, then you accept. And you tell him some of the mitzvahs, and then the Gemara, the Brisa says further that you're not medactic all of, you don't overdo it. You give him that first response of what do you need this for? But then if he pushes, if he insists, you take it easy. So why do we do this? Why do we have this funny kind of spiel with the ger? So the Gemara says like this: my timer. Why do we tell him, what are you doing this for? The parish nifresh. Notice this expression, the parish nifresh. That such that we tell him this so that if he's going to drop it and not go ahead with this, let him leave. The parish nifresh.
So the word parish there is actually the word that Pharisee comes from.
Why? Why would you want him to leave? Because gerim are problematic for Yisrael like a sapachas, like a foreign growth, like a teres. The Gemara brings a pasuk that talks about gerim with this expression of sapachas. So gerim are problematic for the Jews like a sapachas, and Rashi says the reason is because they're eichzin ma'aseyim harishonim v'loimdim Yisrael mehem. They keep their old practices and they influence Yisrael who learns from their practices. So since gerim are problematic for Yisrael like a sapachas, so therefore we tell him, let him this one, and this way, if he leaves, let him leave. And then the Gemara says, but if he insists on converting despite our initial attitude, you accept him and you don't keep on trying to reject him. Why? We read Megillas Rus. When Naomi saw that Rus was misametzes, she was pushing that she really wanted to come to Megayah, she stopped dissuading. Okay. Now, on this expression of the Gemara that says Iparish Nifrish, if this potential convert will leave, let him leave. So Rashi says an interesting expression. Rashi says, Nifrish v'lo ichbas. We don't care. Let him leave and we don't mind. V'lo ichbas. Now, what Rashi's coming to explain is that the Gemara does not say that we tell him this in order that he leave. The Gemara doesn't say ki hechi the nifrish. The Gemara doesn't say let's give him this attitude so that we're better over them. That's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says the iparish nifrish. If he leaves, let him leave. It's like this. We don't care one way or the other, and that's exactly what Rashi says. But it's obviously problematic because if gerim are problematic, if gerim, their influence on the Jewish people is a negative influence, then we should prefer that he not be Megayer. So why did the Gemara say that we tell him this so that if he leaves, let him leave? And then Rashi says, and we don't care. The Gemara should say, Ki hechi the nifrish, so that he leaves. Now there's a Tosfos about this on Daf Kuftes from in Nivamis also, from which it appears that Tosfos understood that this is a test. The dissuading the ger is a means of weeding out the insincere gerim and accepting the ones who insist. The ones who insist are those who demonstrate their sincerity. So Tosfos knows the Gemara like this: the iparish nifrish, if he's a person who, upon confronting this kind of response to his interesting gerim, would say, you know what, I'm not interested, then we want him to leave. So that's why the Gemara doesn't say gechi the nifrish, because we're not taking a stance on the fact that every ger is a negative. But since some gerim are negative, so we need a way of weeding out the good ones and the bad ones. So if we do something, de parish, something that if this act if this way of acting towards him will cause him to be parish, then nifrish, then we want him to leave. That seems to be our taste.
So you know that Rabbi Burton is a prominent rabbi because his thumb game is really good. That's important.
But Rashi says lo yichbas lan. Rashi says the Gemara is not saying that under any circumstances we actively have a negative position on his geras, but we want to take a position of neutrality, and that's very problematic because what's this idea of this position of neutrality if ultimately a ger is something that's detrimental for Yisrael, and why, if a ger is detrimental, do we notify him that we're not interested, we don't care, but then if he really wants to, then we let him. What's this kind of, what are we trying to achieve by this nuanced stance of a statement of neutrality, but then we'll take you if you really want. So the truth is we have to understand deeply, what does this mean that the gerim are problematic for the Jews? So Rashi says they retain their old practices and they influence the Jews into not being completely faithful to the Torah. On the other hand, we have a Gemara in Pesachim that says that the purpose of exile, says the Gemara, the purpose of exile is this way the Jews are mixed in with all the nations and they influence them, and people, non-Jews, learn to become Jews, and that enriches Judaism, or does something, accomplishes something. We'll soon get to what is accomplished. But here we have a major contradiction, because this Gemara seems to say, the Gemara says on the one hand,
What?
Can't relate.
You can't relate.
numerous places, Koshem Gerim is all Kasapachas. Gerim seems to be a net harm for the Jews because they bring in their old culture and their old practices. And the Gemara in Pesachim says that on the contrary, we actually are, if not actively seeking Gerim, but at least consider that the fact that they are converting is part of the divine plan. So then why do we dissuade them, and how do we say that they're...
It's not necessarily a stira, it says kosher, right? It doesn't say that it's inherently a bad thing.
So the guy says it's not stira is a contradiction, right? Because he's explaining it's difficult, right? It's a difficulty, but still it's something we that part of exile we want to happen.
It just says it's not so easy.
Right, that's true. And you're anticipating where we're going with this, which is, think about it as a pachas. A pachas is like a foreign growth. It's a ras, but you can think of it as a growth. There's something problem when the person has a growth, so either the body could integrate it and it could work out, or maybe the body will reject it. So it's something, it's a challenge. It's something that the body has to maybe it might reject it, it might harm the body, but it might also integrate well with the body. So there's definitely that's, I think, what the nuance, what the Kasapachas is capturing, that there's some sort of nuance over here. And of course, as I mentioned, the whole question over here, clearly our stance to the ger is not a stance of we don't want the ger, but that's getting to the, just to really bring back to the first question of what is this business of saying, oh, gerim are our problem, so therefore we're going to tell you that we don't want you, or we're not going to tell you that, we're going to tell you that we don't care, that we don't actively want you. You see, it's all getting back to that problem. It's true. It's true that clearly the point is we're not taking a stance and saying that gerim are certainly negative, but nonetheless, the question stands, which is that if kashim gerim are because they influence us, that would suggest that it's a negative, and that would suggest then that we don't want them. And yet we do want them. The purpose of Galus is to bring them in, to attract converts. And even in this Gemara itself, as Rashi points out, we just tell him that we don't mind if you leave. Why is that? If Sapachas tells us it reflects some real problem that we have with him, then we shouldn't be neutral. We should really be dissuading him. But the truth is that
the Gemara doesn't say some gerim either. The Gemara says
so that,
gerim,
right. Right. So according to Taisvis, it might mean there's risk. There's a risk in gerus because some of them are problematic, and because there's a risk inherent to gerus, therefore we have to be careful in who we accept. That's a Taisvis. Okay.
The good ones might be Kisapachas, meaning.
Well, no. So according to Taisvis, they're not right. According to
According
Taisvis,
to Rashi,
yes.
all gerim are.
Yes, I think
good
so.
and bad.
I
Do
think
you
so.
have to say there's machlekes Rashi Taisus? Could Rashi just be saying like in Taisus and Halach, if they are nifresh, then those are the ones we don't care about?
No, but see, Rashi's explaining.
So the question here is, are Rashi and Tosfot agreeing or disagreeing? And obviously, we try to not read them in such a way that there's a disagreement.
In the Gemara. No. So you don't care. It's more than that. It's not we don't care about. It's we don't want him. Rashi doesn't say those are the ones we don't want. Rashi following the Lashon Gemara that takes this neutral kind of expression that if he leaves, let him leave. And Rashi amplifies that by saying, and we don't care. So he's clearly saying the Gemara's the point of the Gemara is
if he's nifresh, if he's one, and that would fit with Taisus, but there's a filter here.
no, but the
And
point
if he
is
gets filtered out, we don't care about that one.
this you don't, but it's more than not caring. We actually don't want it. Rashi doesn't say that. Rashi is like ichbas, right? It's like you don't care. It's neutral. So Rashi's not saying it's leichbas. So the truth is like this. Let's think about this Gemara Pesachim. The Gemara Pesachim tells us this novel explanation of Jewish history that the purpose of exile was to attract game, and that flies in the face of everything we know from Tanakh, which is that we're supposed to be in Eretz Yisrael, but because we sinned, this is in the Torah, this is in the Nevi'im, because we sinned, therefore we were exiled as a punishment. And here you have this Gemara Pesachim that seems to suggest that exile is part of the divine plan to attract more humans to Judaism. How do we square that? Another way to ask the question is, let's say we wouldn't have sinned in an alternative reality. Hypothetically, had we not sinned and had we not left Eretz Yisrael, then how would the Gerim find out about Judaism? How would this objective have been fulfilled that we want to attract not just the Judaism? This question that Chaim asks, and in order to get to the depths of the question, we have to really go deeply into what's the Jewish project, why are we interested in Gerim at all? What is the Gemara? We think the Gemara talking, okay, we want Gerim. Why? Now, of course, ask why do we want Gerim gets uncomfortably close to asking why are we Jewish? But that's what we have to ask to really get to it. We have to figure out what's this project, what's the Torah project about, and why might Gerim be necessary? But it seems in the Gemara that Gerim are only necessary because we sinned, right? Because Galus is a result of sin. Clearly, wouldn't have happened had we not sinned. And yet now that we sinned, it's important that we get Gerim. That's what would be suggested. So let's see if we can square that, okay? So in order to think about this, I have to tell you the story of the Jewish people, okay? A wonderful story. It goes like this. Jewish people have this role in the world, okay? And just to be clear, when I talk about having a role, I don't mean anything metaphysical. I mean, Avram Avinu started a project, and we're continuing it. And his project is called this project of, what should we call it? So we can call it Das Hashem. This is what the Nevi'im call it, basically. Das Hashem.
To know God.
Knowledge of Hashem, and we'll talk about soon what that means. But the end result of the Jewish project, the Torah project, which we call Geula, is defined by
Geula means salvation.
the world being filled with Das Hashem. This is the Rambam. As the Rambam ends up Malachim with the days of Mashiach, the whole world is being filled with Das Hashem. Okay, so that's like the ultimate fruition of Judaism or accomplishment of Judaism, which we call redemption, we call Geula, is when this idea, knowing Hashem, will fill the world. So what is the content of Das Hashem? What does this Das Hashem mean? How do we achieve it? Are we achieving it? These are the fundamental questions I think about all the time, but we're not gonna go into that too much now. But let's suffice to say that the idea of the Torah of Das Hashem, the idea of the Avos that they're teaching Das Hashem, is that they're teaching a way of life that revolves and is founded on a concept called Hashem. Okay, and even though this is the kind of thing that we don't think about enough, shouldn't be surprised because the truth is that we don't really know what Hashem means. And that's reflected in the fact that we don't even know what the name of Hashem is. See, this thing, we forgot the name of Hashem. It's a very weird thing that we don't even know the name of what the fundamental of the whole Judaism, the whole Torah is based on. The name of Hashem doesn't just mean forgot his name. The name of Hashem reflects some truth about Hashem, as all the Farshim say from the Rambam to the Kabbalah. The whole Kabbalah is really a pirush on the Shem Hashem. So the point is, we're used to thinking about Judaism basically as we're doing the right thing, and we certainly are, and we can take away from that. But we have to also understand, we sort of do this once a year on Tisha B'Av, we remind ourselves that we don't have anything and we're missing, we're not.
Tisha B'Av is a Jewish holiday commemorating the destruction of the temples.
Everything we have is worthless, but we can't live our whole lives. We can't cry a whole year. So the whole year we tell ourselves we're doing everything's fine, more or less. But the truth is that we don't really understand the content of what the Torah project is about. At least legamri. Okay, let's say that. I don't mean to overdo this, because on the contrary, we should think about what does Hashem mean, and what does a life of Das Hashem look like, and how does the Torah contribute to that? Now we're doing it, and I encourage everyone to do that. But at the same time, I want you to realize that we're talking about something that maybe is not really on people's lips, not people think about too much, and that's because we're not in Gula. We have to get there. That's our mission. So that's the mission of the Torah, is to achieve Das Hashem. And again, that's the content of Gula. Rambam says the content of Gula is the time when Das Hashem will fill the earth. So obviously we're at a point where Das Hashem doesn't fill the earth. We still have mitzvahs, we still have Torah, and to a certain extent, Jewish people have Das Hashem. But there's this concept that we're aiming for, and we're still working on getting.
Is there something back to? Was there a time in Das Hashem?
These are great questions. These are excellent questions. Well, first of all, we had Das Hashem when Hashem is revealed to us and when He speaks to us through the Nevi'im. Basically, the essence of Nevuah is called Das Hashem, as we have in Shmuel. Before he was a Navi, it says Shmuel Terem Yod Das Hashem. He didn't have that familiarity with Hashem yet. So Nevuah is called Das Hashem, and Klal Yisrael being led by Nevi'im and having a Shos Hashem is kind of Das Hashem. It's meaning, because let's just tell you what the words mean. Das Hashem means experience of Hashem. It means intimacy with Hashem, a familiarity with Hashem. Das does not mean doesn't mean dry knowledge. So we have Adam Yoda Es Chava Ishta. It means he experienced. It's not a euphemism. It means he had experience of Chava. Das means experience. So Das Hashem is to have experience of Hashem. So what would it mean for a person to have experience of Hashem? We're all experiencing Hashem. What else are we experiencing? But if we don't understand what we're experiencing as Hashem, then we don't have Das Hashem. If we understand our experiencing of Hashem, then we do have Das Hashem. So the first thing would be to know what Hashem is, obviously, and what does that mean, and then to see what would that mean to live with that kind of consciousness. And that's the Jewish project in a nutshell. Where does the Torah fit into that? Okay, it's a lot to learn. We're not going to go into that. So this is our destiny. In other words, what it means the destiny. This is the project that was founded by Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov, and this is the project that we are doing for the world. Okay, this is the story, and this is the story. This is the ongoing story of the Jewish people. It's still happening, and fascinating story. Maybe we consider it the most important story in human history, and that's arguably is true, and meaning demonstrably. But we have to take it to the next level. We have to arrive at the goal. Okay.
What was Shame and Eve were doing, and all those other guys learning in Shiva all day?
Oh, they're learning. This is what they're learning. Now you have another idea what they were learning.
What you're saying is Avram Yitzchak and Yaakov, that was.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to know the pre?
So Kalonymus says, interesting. I wonder what he means by the goal of Jews and Judaism isn't metaphysical. I think he means that we're talking in a practical sense, not in a physical sense. Yeah, like concept. I don't know. The joke is I just saw Eric Weinstein's ARC lecture, and he says the Jews are all about survival, but he's a disbeliever. So, I mean, survival is certainly a part of Judaism. Ubacharta v'chaim, you shall choose life, but ultimately, it's not just about survival, because if it were just about survival, then we would do anything to save our lives, but we wouldn't. We have the 3 cardinal sins. I wonder what he thinks that means to someone who doesn't practice or even care about preserving Jews in a racial sense. I'm not sure what you mean, Kalonymus, and who you're asking about.
Eric Weinstein. That's who he's asking that.
Well, he certainly doesn't care in a racial sense. I think he does care about Judaism in at least an ethnic sense. You might even say a religious sense. Like Eric does make Kiddush every Friday night.
just it's supposed to be
The pre-patriarchal people. What about them, huh? So, you know, this is completely off topic, but it just reminded me. There's a, famously the Rambam makes Avram Avinu into a philosopher who discovered Hashem through his thinking, and this going along with the Rambam's mahalach that you can discover Hashem through thought. But this is something which is controversial. The Kabbalim hold that you need a Kabbalah, you need a Messiah. Because there are certain things about Hashem. Most important things according to the Kabbalah are not accessible through thought, human intellect alone. So you have to have a Messiah. So David Zakaidesh, or maybe Gabi, one of the fundamentals from Kabbalah, he says, Avram didn't start from scratch. Yashin Ve'ever, and he learned from them. So this is the Machlokes. I was going like the Rambam.
Or he got Zohar straight from Hashem. That's easier.
Okay, right. No, but the question is how he reached that point, because Ben Kach V'Kach Hikar Es Bayroi, so where did that start from? So according to the Rambam, that started from, because let's say 40 years old. What was he doing until 40? He was searching, and he discovered, and then Hashem revealed himself to him. I guess that's the point. Everyone agrees that there was something that preceded revelation. So the thing that preceded revelation, according to the Rambam, was Chakira, and according to the Kabbalah was... Yeah. So what does that say about that? I don't remember. Okay. Yeah, it's a very fundamental question. I mean, the fundamental question is, can we think, or do we need, or it can, certainly some people need the Messiah, because people are not capable, even the Rambam agrees that people who are not fully developed in their intellect and intellectual abilities obviously should and gain from accepting the Messiah. But the Rambam also holds that the greatest people can be like Avram Avinu and figure it all out from scratch. And that if you do that, then you know it on a much deeper fundamental level. It's not just that, you're not reinventing the wheel. The point is that it is something that you know because you discovered it yourself and you reasoned through it yourself. You know it in a much deeper way. Okay, but that's off topic. So this is the story of the Jewish people in a nutshell. Okay, now, what about the non-Jews? Okay, what does the Torah want for the non-Jews? Where do they fit into this whole idea? We have this concept called Hashem. And we maintain that this concept is the most fundamental concept to life. And if you live in a way that's consistent with this idea, then that's the best life. That's the best way to live. Okay, very good. What about the non-Jews? Okay, where do they fit in? Are they also supposed to become Jews? So we have this Gemara in Yom Chotam. There's, excuse me for the Ma'amar Kaimis for sort of a kitza. I put for Chulu and stuff, so everyone will have to fill it in Malpeh. I didn't realize we'd be giving it out like that. So I'll fill it in for you. Torah Banon, Ein Mekabim Geir L'Moshe Mashiach. Okay, so first of all, right over there, Ein Mekabim Geir L'Moshe Mashiach. When Mashiach's going to come, then we don't accept Geir anymore. Okay, so that tells us that the end game of Molar Etz Deis Hashem, everyone's going to know Hashem. It does not mean that everyone's going to be Jewish. Apparently, you have Das Hashem and be a non-Jew. I don't see a conflict there. Das Hashem is an idea. And of course, like I said before, we have to figure out where the Torah fits into it. Clearly, the Torah is supporting it. But nonetheless, and we'll get a little more color to this, conceptually, you can have Das Hashem, you can know about Hashem, and still be a non-Jew, still do the Torah. Torah is very This is Bnei Yisrael. Bnei Yisrael has their role in bringing Das Hashem to the world, as we'll understand a little better. But that's their role, to be the teachers, to be the teachers of Das Hashem. And for that role, there's the Torah and the whole Jewish experience. And when the non-Jews will understand Das Hashem, because they'll be taught it, and Mashiach will teach them, as the Rambam describes, as the Nevi'im describe. It doesn't mean they become Jewish. Now, the Gemara sounds like the reason why you don't accept Geim Mashiach is because you distrust their motives. Because the Gemara continues, it says, just like you don't accept Geim Mashiach, they also didn't take Gerim in the days of David, days of Shlomo. It says the Rambam and this is quite obvious. What about David and Shlomo? So Rambam says in the days of David, the non-Jews were afraid of David because he was waging wars, and some of them wanted to switch flags, and the motive really would be to protect themselves physically. Therefore, they're not doing L'Shem Shammai. Days of Shlomo was when the glorious days, the golden age of the Jewish people, so we're afraid of doing it for wealth and power. And since the Gemara compares this, talk about it would seem like the point of the Gemara is that when things are good for the Jews, we don't accept Gerim, right? And notice, by the way, when things are bad for the Jews, we tell them, oh, everything's so awful for the Jews. That's the Gemara we start with. Talk about Geshem B'Laz Gad B'Zman Hazeh. We tell them things are so awful. And when things are good for the Jews, we don't have a couple. So basically, Gerim is not supposed to happen, more or less. Okay, and we'll get to this. But anyway.
I didn't notice him mentioning the word David. I mean, historically, making Kiddush and being a kaifer in every other aspect hasn't exactly led to higher attention beyond the second generation. You must know that. Yeah, well, more than the Jews have kept Shabbos, Shabbos has kept the Jews.
We have that command in Zot. It says Geras is the purpose of God. But in terms of like the setup of history is such that there's really Geras is always sort of off the table. Because when I was there, we first tell him, why would you want this? And if he says, any kedai, I'm not worthy to suffer with the Jews, then we're makabel. So the Gemara sounds like the point is we don't, a guy comes to us, Mashiach, now you come. Yeah, it's only because you want to enjoy whatever we're enjoying with Mashiach, right?
You don't want to be slave.
Huh?
You don't want to be slave.
It's not going to be slaves. I'm not into slaves. Okay, but whatever, we'll get to that. No, they're not slaves, okay? Not slaves. So we'll get to what they're doing. We'll get over
So
that.
he's referring to the they made it a little joke on the internet. Everybody thinks that Jews think we're going to enslave the entire world when Mashiach comes, and somebody made that joke. Everybody laughed. Rabbi Burton dismissed it. Just in case you were wondering.
Understanding of that so-called. Okay, the Zohar and the Tikkunei Zohar, and there's one marmakum there on the bottom, the last one over there, but this is in numerous places in the Zohar. The same idea recurs, which is that the reason why we don't take Ge'im Mashiach is because the pasuk says Hashem badad yanchenu ve'ein imay el necher. Hashem is alone with the Jews, and there's no foreign God together with Hashem. Okay, so first of all, what does a foreign God mean? A foreign God means that, as the Ramban explains, the nations have a malach, well, the Sar, Shem, Sarim. The nations each have a malach that's intermediary between them and Hashem. And Hashem has this direct relationship with Bnei Yisrael. And we don't want to mix in, to get in the way of this close, special relationship of Hashem and Am Yisrael. We don't want to mix in any of the other malachim, the other ideas. We'll soon explain what that means a little bit. We don't want to mix that into the relationship of Hashem and Bnei Yisrael. And therefore, the Moshe Mashiach, they're not welcome.
So
That's
what's
numerous
America's malach? Like, do we get Uriel? Do we get Sadathiel? Where is it? You guys got Michael. Where's mine? If I'm Asian and American, do I get two?
Good question. I don't know.
And I maintain that actually, that's the Gemara means the same thing. The Gemara and the Zohar are complementary. We need both of these reasons. In other words, the Gemara is mashma that the reason I'm a couple games because you don't trust their motives. The Zohar says I'm a couple game because the native Jews and Hashem are supposed to be secluded, badad, faithful to each other without any admixtures. And I believe the two things go together. I'll tell you why. How do you read the Gemara on a simple level? So the Gemara is saying this: a guy comes in Mashiach, and we say, you know what? We don't trust you. We're not going to be Jewish because everything is also for the Jews. Why do you not trust any? Why do you not trust his motives? If the Mashiach, the world's going to recognize Hashem, and he understands Hashem Echad and so on. So that's why he wants to be Jewish. Why would you think he's only being Jewish because of some ulterior motive? If the world's full of Das Hashem, and it's a wonderful thing to serve Hashem as a Jew, why shouldn't he want to be Jewish? Why would you think that he's not? Of course, maybe it's also better. I don't know what's happening. We'll soon get to that. What's happening to the other guys? But why would you say that he's only doing it Shalosh Shemayim? The whole world's full of Das Hashem. Where does the Shalosh Shemayim come in? So the answer is that in Moshe Mashiach, as the Zohar says, there's a special Jewish role in the world, which is unique to the Jews. And the non-Jews, their whole history and everything about the national culture is not necessary for that role. The Jews can do what the Jews have to do in Moshe Mashiach. And the Jews alone are the ones who are supposed to do it. A non-Jew wants to serve Hashem. Serve Hashem. Great. You have Das Hashem. Serve Hashem. How should you serve Hashem? Let's figure it out. Maybe they'll have a Torah. By the way, I was wondering about this. Will the non-Jews receive a Torah designed for them? This Torah that we have is designed for us. In other words, we have a role in the world. Our role in the world is not the same as the role for every single other nation. So maybe they'll get their own Torah. This whole thing about the Torah will never change is our Torah never changes. What about Shevet B'nai? Could that never change? I don't know. I'm wondering about this later. Because Shevet B'nai changed once. It's changed for us, right? We had Shevet Mitzvahs, and then we got a Torah. And the non-Jews also will offer the Torah. So I suspect they could have a Torah also. A Torah for a Russian, a Torah for a German. What's your Torah? What does it mean, what's your Torah? It means, depending on what does Das Hashem mean, or what does Das Hashem necessitate, I should say, given that you're not a native Jew, you don't have the experience of the Jewish people, you're not a descendant of Avraham Avinu, you have your own world, your own life, your own history. Now you understand this idea called Hashem. Okay, so what does that mean? How should you live in a way that's consistent with Das Hashem? And what should the law be for the non-Jew? Those are good questions, which maybe enough will tell us. But there's no reason that he should become a Jew. Therefore, says the Gemara, if he does want to become a Jew, we suspect him of having ulterior motives. But the Gemara and the Zohar are complementary. Because on the one hand, we don't need him. If he's doing it l'shem shemayim, says the Zohar, we don't need you. The Jews could do their role by themselves. And if you're doing it for other reasons, says the Gemara, that's the rule of Mekabel. Just like we're Mekabel Midal Mishleima, so too not Mekabel. You may see Mashiach.
Oh, yeah. Young God. He did mention David. So the Talmud says during the reign of David and Solomon, converts were not taken to Israel.
The way, parenthetically, I find this to be true in general, that sometimes you find these conflicts between Gemaras and Kabbalah, and actually, in a deeper level, they're both necessary. Here, the Gemara is saying a very surface basic thing that we don't trust his motives, but if you think about it deeply, you actually need to really bring in this idea that we don't need him for the service of Hashem. See, again, because if we needed him for the service of Hashem, then why would we distrust his motives? He's Mashiach, everyone recognizes Hashem, he wants to be a Jew. Why would we think he's not doing it for the right reasons? The answer is we don't need him to be a Jew. The Jewish people will do the Jewish thing. You want to serve Hashem because you have to Hashem, that doesn't mean you have to be Jewish. We don't need the whole world to be Jewish.
Isn't the nature of being Jewish different once the world is Mali Das Hashem?
How
The way you're framing it, that the role of the Jewish people is to teach the world about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, once Moshe Mashiach are here, Malchal Eretz Deis Hashem, so Mamela is done.
Yeah, so
mission accomplished. So now fundamentally what it means to be a Jewish person, the nature of our mission is changed.
right. Well, I mean, this perhaps one way to think about it is probably very true. Mamlechas Kohen V'God Kaddish, right? We're going to read on Shavuos, Mamlechas Kohen V'God Kaddish. We're supposed to be a nation of priests and a holy people. That wasn't fulfilled. The Medrash says, because we're supposed to all be Kahanim. And comes the Egel, and we lost the Kahuna. V'atem tiyu li, Mamlechas Kohen. Li, says the Medrash, li is Madrig 40. Because it lasted all of 40 days. 40 days later, we lost the Madrig of Kahuna. And we also lost the Madrig of Malachim. Kol Yisrael b'nei Malachim has to do with this. We're supposed to be kings, and we're supposed to be Kahanim, all of us. Now, you can't have a world that's all kings, and you can't have a world that's all Kahanim. Let's say a Kohen. A Kohen's role is to be the priest and to teach Torah. The whole world's not supposed to be teaching Torah. Who's going to be doing everything else? That's where the slavery comes in. It's not slavery. When the pasuk says, "V'amdu acherim v'rot sonchem," other people do work. It means the Jewish role is to be teachers. This is, I think, not a full answer. It's only a partial answer. Just because the world is full of Das Hashem doesn't mean we don't have to maintain that. We have to teach that. And people have to be Kahanim. They have to be dedicated to service of Hashem and to the exclusion of everything else. But then there's the other nations, and they have their roles. And by the way, parenthetically, this is what, as I mentioned before, the Ramban says the concept of Sarim. Each nation has their Sar. This is what it means when we talk about the Shivim Sarim.
So he said Ramban as in Nachmanides. And Sarim are the angels, the literally princes.
It means that each nation has their main thing that they focus on, their destiny, just like the Jewish people have a destiny. It's built into the world that is a Jewish project. So there's another project of each nation. That they have their genius, they have their focus and what they're good at and what they should be doing. What they should be doing in a way that's influenced by and consistent with Das Hashem. But it doesn't mean that they're only doing is the only thing they're doing is let's say teaching Torah. To make it crude, I'm not saying whether Jews will work or not. Maybe not. I mean that's Chazal seems to say they won't. There's no need to work because there wasn't even no need to work. Our productivity is about Das Hashem. The productivity of whoever it may be in any other nation is to apply Das Hashem in some practical way, in some physically, materially productive way. Okay, so there's this kind of arrangement of societal, national, of nations, international arrangement that there's this idea of Das Hashem, and that's what the Mashiach will teach, and the Jewish people understand. And then
we have a Chezi. I have no clue what you're asking. Oh, hold on.
She's asking, is Jesus one of these 70 angels?
No. The Sarim are angels, not humans. I might have remembered games where you ask. I have no idea what you're talking about. Whereas Chezi thinks that maybe you're weird. Tyra. It's so the cholam in some things is said cholam. So yeah. This has to be the most Jewish argument ever. Everyone has their own Torah. Nice.
Where's mine? What happened to mine? I didn't get one.
Yet.
Okay. All right.
Furry David. I don't know why he calls him Furry David. Okay. David might actually watch this. Then he'll know.
further teach that to the world, who will then utilize their particular, each individual national genius to that end. And that's basically the utopia described by the Nevi'im. Okay, so that's why we have no need for them to be Megaya. Okay, let them do their thing, let them do it well, and as we said, and if nonetheless he wants to be Megaya, so why? What do you have to be Megaya for? You want to be a teacher? Not everyone's supposed to be a teacher. Not everyone's supposed to be a teacher. So Hashem arranges it very nicely. He has one nation, they're going to be the Kahanim and the Malachim, and everyone else does their role, right? It's like everyone wants to learn Koil. Okay, so did not mean to get controversial. No, but I'm saying the point is, a functioning society needs different people doing that's what I meant. Division of labor. Division of labor. So there's division of labor in God's plan for humanity as well. And if someone wants to switch over, maybe he's like, oh, because that's good for me. Then we say, no, we don't trust you. Hashem doesn't need you to be Jewish. So what do you want to be Jewish for? I'm not changing your mind. Maybe. So sometimes people might want to be Jewish because like, oh, the Jewish thing, that's right for me. I can't do the Chinese thing, the German thing, the Japanese. It doesn't work for me. I have a Jewish neshama, whatever. Okay. But you want to Mashiach, where there's two reasons to do it that are temporal reasons and maybe are negias, we don't trust you that you're doing it. L'shem Shemayim, because really L'shem Shemayim, Hashem doesn't need you. Okay, that's the combination.
So pre-Mashiach also, no one needs.
Yeah. What are we game for?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting to. Okay. Now let's get to this question.
Where do non-Torah observant Jews fit into this stuff? I don't know if we discussed that at all, but. it seems like
What's your question? What's your name, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the question exactly?
Question is like we're talking about like here, we're talking about Das Hashem, but then there's Jews that don't have Das Hashem.
Right.
They're supposed to be, teachers also. But
Right.
They're almost as they're more similar to non-Jews.
Right. Well, here's the thing.
At least the Das Hashem.
Yeah, well, see, it sort of goes the other way because if we start figuring out what Das Hashem is, we might actually discover that non-observant Jews have more than we realize. Because although I believe, and this is certainly the Torah's design, is that the Torah supports Das Hashem and follows from Das Hashem. In other words, Das Hashem necessitates that one should keep the Torah. That doesn't mean that a person who is not keeping the Torah doesn't have Das Hashem or has no Das Hashem. You see? A person could not have ever heard the same way I maintain that we have a little Das Hashem as Jews, even though we don't know what the Shem Hashem is. And most people wouldn't even be able, I think most people probably wouldn't be able to explain what God is. But we have some concept, some idea of it. So you might discover that that even the person who's non-observant actually has that concept in his psyche. No, you're not buying it, huh? I'm going the other way. What?
I'm basing it on
Right. No, but see, you're making a mistake because you're just taking Torah as being identical with Das Hashem. It's not. It's supportive of Das Hashem, and that opens up the question of how is Targum supportive of that? But the same Avraham Avinu is not doing Torah per se. So clearly, the Torah comes after. The Torah is supportive of the Avram's project. I don't think Avram's project would succeed without the Torah. I'm going to say that again. The Torah is necessary for the project, but it's a part of the project. It's not the.
This
not
is
the project. It's not the
anti-Jubilees.
end all of the Jewish project.
Is the pre-Moshe Mashiach project of the Jewish people to bring Das Hashem to the non-Jews, and therefore during Moshe Mashiach, the project is now completely different because Das Hashem is evident?
Again, what's the question? If pre Moshe Mashiach, the role would be.
The project of the Jewish people to the non-Jewish world is to bring about Das Hashem. I mean, we're trying to do it on our own
Right.
to find it. Are we also
Okay.
trying to help the non-Jewish world find it?
Oh, should we be doing that?
Should we? Is that?
I think so. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we were restricted because we can't reveal certain secrets.
Okay, so that's you get the problem of it,
Right.
not teaching Torah to non-Jews, right? It's a very important issue.
Also, one of the rules of not
Right.
revealing secrets.
Right, exactly.
We're
It's not easy to be Jewish. No, I mean, no, there's always these tensions. I'm saying there's tensions that have to be balanced. In fact, the one we're talking about right now, maybe there's the tension that here. So it's a very good question. It requires more than just a quick answer. Okay, so let's go back to the question of the Gemara Mitzvah. The Gemara Mitzvah says that the purpose of exile is so that we should attract converts. And as it becomes even more difficult now because what do we need it for? The descendants of Abraham and Yaakov, through their heritage and through their experiences, they have the right thing. They have what it takes, either because of their character or because of their history. Both. They have the right thing. They have what it takes to be the project of Judaism. And again, the whole world doesn't have to become Jews. So why are we looking for anyone to become Jews? So the answer is that let's think about Chet. Okay, we asked a different question. We said the Gemara says the
Chet means sin.
purpose of Galus is to attract Gerim, but I thought Galus only happened after we sinned. There was a punishment. So let's think about Chet. Okay, now we have a little bit of an understanding what Chet is. Chet means when the Jews are not faithful to their destiny, to their essence. Here you have this project, this Jewish project started by Abraham and Yaakov, and are we living up to it or not? If we're not living up to it, that's Chet. Again, there's particular sins we talk about, particular Averis, but in the deepest level, what we're really looking for is, are we living up to what the Jewish people are supposed to do or not? So what if we don't live up to it? We do have a Zagi the Rashi was done, like back in the day. So now what? So now what happened is we mixed into our own experience, our own project, our own history, we mixed in something that's foreign to Judaism. We're not faithful to our destiny and to our roots. So now what do we do? Now what do we do? Once the Jewish people slips from the path of Das Hashem, Avraham Avinu's project, and they do Avodah Zarah, so now what? So one option is go back to where you were. Revert to your old ways. Doesn't always work that way. Once a person gets used to a different way of living, or he gets certain habits or certain midas, you can't always tell them to just lose them. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to figure out a way to incorporate these kinds of midas that maybe are foreign to your original destiny. You have to figure out a way to make them serve your original destiny. And by the way, this is not only true about this whole national destiny of Judaism. I think a person could say this in his own life. A person has a goal, let's say, right? Then he gets sidetracked. So he thinks, okay, I'm going to ignore that. Or he can figure out a way to bring in this new interest that he had, to figure out a way to subsume that, incorporate that into his overarching goals in life. So same thing, Jewish people, they were chayte. So now what? So now, in order to reconstruct the Das Hashem project, they have to figure out a way to incorporate their foreign, these midas that they adopted, which were foreign to their essence. They have to figure out a way to kasha them up, to retire them, and to bring them, to include those in Das Hashem. And you'll pardon me for talking in so abstract, limited in time, so we'll have to talk about this in generalities. But I think you get the idea. Same way I think the analogy of a person's life, you could have a certain track in life and goals, and if you get sidetracked, so sometimes you can just go back to where you were. More often, you're not able to just undo something, but you could channel it in the right direction. So what happened with Judaism, and see, Judaism is very interesting. It's a dynamic thing. It's a historical thing. It changes through history. What do you mean changes through history? There's the original Judaism when we still have this possibility of being completely faithful to the project. And then we have, well, now what? Now after the Jewish people were not faithful to that, they were chayte. By the way, chayte means to miss a target. It's to miss a target. It's called chayte. So they're a little off. They're not exactly where they're supposed to be. So they have to figure out a way to bring those foreign midas, which we'll call them non-Jewish midas because they're not integral to the Jewish project. They have to figure out a way to include those in the Torah project. You know what happens when you include those foreign things in the Torah project? The foreigners perk up and say, oh, I could be a Jew too. Because as you mentioned, the idea of the Shivim Sarim is that each nation has their midah. Ramban, who talks about the fact that each nation has 70 Sarim, says also there's 70 midas in the soul. Ramban says in Bashal, there's Shivim Kirks and Nefesh, 70 ways of being, 70 values that people have. Different people are motivated by different things. Once we start incorporating some of these things that are really foreign to the original Judaism, but once we start making them part of Judaism, then the non-Jew who's into those foreign midas finds a place within Judaism. So the Gemara is saying, you know why Hashem sent us into Galus? To bring back in, what the Gemara means is, we said to get Galus is because of sin. The Gemara is saying like this. The Gemara is saying is that the way to fix our sin of not being authentic Jews is to figure out a way to bring non-authentic Jews or non-original Jews to incorporate them, to bring them into the fold. So the fact that we attract Gerim is the tikkun. I don't mean tikkun because it's I don't mean we're doing a good thing instead of a bad thing. It is the essence of tshuva, because the essence of our tshuva is reconstructing a Das Hashem, reconstructing a path towards Das Hashem, but now a path towards Das Hashem that acknowledges and incorporates these things that were not original to the project of Judaism. And then the non-Jew is welcome because he fits in. He found a way to fit in. Okay?
But other than it being foreign, what's it correcting from what's going off? I mean, it's not correcting it going off. It's just correcting that it's foreign. It's just bringing another foreign thing in.
Right. No, but maybe we could find a way to make that Jewish. Can you find a way to make it Jewish? To give you an example, What's the question? Maybe I didn't understand the question. What are we doing by bringing it in?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, see, that's the thing. I'm talking in great abstractions, but we have this thing called Hashem, and we have and this concept called Hashem necessitates a certain way of life. That's an ideal. That's a perfect ideal. If we diverge from that, and now we have some kinds of, let's say, habits or characteristics that are not consistent with that way of life, what do you do now? Okay, so can you take those habits and find a way to make them contribute, to make them somehow enrich, or at least contribute towards Das Hashem? No? Okay, see that?
So that objectively, Goyim are contributing to Das Hashem because it's
correct. The qualities. Well, no, it's more like the qualities that they have now become incorporated into Judaism. Okay, let me try to give you an example. Okay, let's say we come to America, right? Let's say America is very into, let's say, ambition. Okay, let's say ambition is an American thing. Just I'm making this up. It doesn't have to be the case. But let's just say that. Let's say ambition is an American kind of characteristic. And really, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, we're not so into ambition as much as Americans are. Okay, let's say. And if we would have been faithful to Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, we wouldn't be so into self-actualization. Okay, just make none yet. Okay, but now we became a little American. And remember, I'm not saying we became American after we came to America. We became a little American because we were chayte. Once upon 2,000 years ago, we were chayte by being too ambitious. We really shouldn't have been so ambitious. Had we really understood that Hashem, we wouldn't be so ambitious. Okay, what do we have to do now? We have to figure out a way to take the meat of ambition, which is not original to our nation, and figure out a way to channel that into Das Hashem. What are the mechanics of that? Okay, we have a lot of work to do. But you can see, so now, but once we do that, now the American guy's like, oh, see, ambition and Judaism go together, so I want to be Jewish also. Why not? Why not? You can't, there's no reason not to. And in fact, on the contrary, we're getting to the Rashi. We actually want the American fellow to join us. Why? Because in our project of making ambition Jewish, if we're going to tell the American, oh, you're not Jewish. So then basically we're saying we're not Jewish, right? If our hope to get back to our original things, to say these midas, which are really not inherent to Judaism, can be made Jewish, so then we have to accept this guy as well. Okay, now let's get back.
As long as
to
we
the
want
Rashi.
ambition for Judaism and not
Right.
ambition for ambitions.
Right, for sure. So now let's get to Rashi. Yeah.
Why can't possibly it goes?
Yeah.
Be that?
Because again, so that's the point I was saying, that it actually supports this project of ours. If we're on this mission to again, we're using that example, to channel ambition towards Judaism, then that means you can't do that without meeting your ambitious non-Jewish neighbor and telling him, have this great religion. You cannot talk about it, but by definition, you're attracting him.
The only thing for us in is that we
Right.
don't know anything about what we learn.
Right.
So I was always under the assumption that the Torah is what the metaphor that we were saying about what the Torah does and why it's here is we're fighting over those cultural changes over the years that
Right.
make us something else than
Right.
we were previously.
Right. And here I'm saying that we're embracing it.
No, so if we're in this culture,
Right.
us returning to Das Hashem
Mhm.
is the same thing as bringing a Garrett, because what
Right.
we're really trying to do is make up for what we've done.
Right. So exactly. But if we're making up for what we've done by figuring out a way to utilize our new psyche, our new selves, and figure out a way to make that work in Judaism, then that gives a place for the ger as well. Because what we're doing is we're not trying to turn back the clock. You can't turn back the clock. It doesn't happen. What we did for 1,000 years is part of our history now, and if we have to figure out a way to find Hashem with those midos.
Working on the Garrett is really just working on yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly the point.
It's
Right.
easier.
That's the point. No, and it's easy. It's easy to work on yourself. Because
Tell
what?
someone you're doing this wrong, and
Right. I mean, you tell the ger, you cannot tell the ger you don't belong. If you go home and you tell yourself you do belong. In other words, we tell the ger, it's the guy we don't want. You know who else is a guy? You're a guy. That's the point. We all became Rishtikal Gayish. So what do you mean you don't want the ger? Who do you think you are? That's okay. It's okay they did it. We'll figure out a way back. It's okay to get the rest of us done. There's a way back. Okay, there's a way back. That means he gets us something. So had we not been chaytes, now getting back to the questions of what do we need the ger for, and why do we only need the ger for? Because we were chaytes. Had we not been chaytes, so we're doing the original Das Hashem. Yes, everyone has to learn Das Hashem. We'll teach them Das Hashem. They'll come learn. Keep it seeing Hashem Yishalayim. Very nice. But now that we were chayte, which means we're not faithful to our own essence. So what then are we doing? There's only a bunch of 70 choices of how to live your life in its root. So if we're not doing Das Hashem, it means we're doing one of the other things. Doing one of the other things, we have to figure out a way to reconstruct Das Hashem. Incorporating one of these other midas that are foreign to Judaism, incorporating those, then the ger is welcome. So now let's get to, we have a few minutes. Where are we holding on? So let's get to the,
Fix it through the gear.
what's that?
We can only fix our faults through the gear.
I believe so. Because basically, if we would turn to the ger and say, we don't want you, the only way to say that would be to say, you're maisim. Like Rashi says, what's the problem with the game? We'll get to Rashi's really jumping ahead a little bit. But Rashi says, what's the problem with the game? They have maisim. Well, we're also oichas masim. We also have a past that's not so rosy. So we cannot, at the same time, embrace ourselves and figure out a way back to ourselves and not embrace it. It's not emes, right? And by the way, not emes doesn't just mean that we like emes. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. What's your message? What's your message? Hypocritical. It doesn't work. Yeah, I'm not saying we have to be emes. I mean, we do. It doesn't work.
MS means truth.
At the deep level, what is Judaism? Why are you telling this guy he can't come? So if you tell him, you know why? Because we have a thing which has nothing to do with you, because we're very fundamentally different than you, because we have this history which is pure. And not pure as in a supremacy, just we're doing something that you're not shaykh to. Okay, but that's not true anymore. Because now we're doing something that he is shaykh to, because what we're doing
Shaykh means to relate.
is influenced and colored by the history called chait. And again, chait means not being true to our destiny.
Why is state not just doing Averos?
It is, but that's what's not being.
Mention, let's say, Shliach
Of course it
Hamas.
is.
We started, let's say we are Gilad Rice, start
Yeah.
doing any of these Averos.
Right.
Why are we mentioning ambition? I'm just not sure why you're using that as
Because you're talking about actions. I was trying to get it down to the level of the character traits.
I have a
Um,
random question.
Random answer.
So, like, the Jewish nation, it's pure, it's whatever, unchanging. But all these other 70, they're mixing and matching. One nation becomes another, two of them eat another one. Like,
Right.
so, like, what happens to their angels? What's up with that?
You sound like the guys who say what happens if a woman and has 7 husbands throughout her life, and then whose husband will she be after the resurrection of the dead? You're a fundamentalist. You're a Baptist fundamentalist. Go away.
Yeah, maybe.
This isn't how Torah works. And that's why he's saying, look, okay, you did a chet, you did a sin, you ate some bacon, right? So he's not saying, so a Jew eats some bacon, and so we bring Gentiles in so we can eat bacon. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that there is a way in which a Jew, when he eats bacon, is embodying a characteristic that really shouldn't be part of Israel, at least in the beginning, right? But there's a way in which that thing has a kernel, has some pure characteristic that needs to be in the world, that's part of the world in a Gentile way, in one of the 70 nations, and incorporating that into Israel, right, is the point of the exile. The Jews go into exile and they learn to incorporate these things which through our sin became necessary within Israel. That's what he's saying, I think. What are people talking about? If I were a little more naive, I would think this rabbi was an atheist. Chas v'shalom. He's in no way is he an atheist. You're crazy. We speak about this often in this space, reframing ideas of Christianity, Islam, raising the divine sparks. Yes, exactly. I like the rocking. He's in the zone. Yes. Jacob giving away the secrets. I'm not giving away the secrets. The rabbi is. Not a rosy history is a quote that seems fun. Yes, bacon must be in the world. We all need to accept it. Yeah, and the word for the rocking is called shakaling in Yiddish. Okay,
that gets to that question. I know that the elephant in the room, to borrow a behemoth mayor. But that's an important question. Look, I hope that this conversation this year opens up more questions and answers, because that's a good year to do. But we can't get everything here. But the Torah is supporting that, right? Avera is supporting that. But certainly Avera and Avera is lack of Hashem, absolutely. So now let's get to this nuanced stance we take towards Gerim. Okay, on the one hand, we need them in the sense that our new Judaism, let's call it, speaks to them, and they can be a part of it because they have those other midos, the ones of hate, ones that are hate for us.
Midos means.
On the other hand, that's the only reason that Judaism allows for them to have a place in Judaism is because we're not the original Jews, as we want to be. Sort of. We look back to Avraham and Yaakov as our models, and we look back as the Torah and the Nevi'im and everything as the models of how we're supposed to be. So even though on the one hand we say, don't be too harsh on yourself, because you're never going to get back to the Avraham and Yaakov in the same way. You have to find a new path back. The new path accepts all the things you went through and your history. Okay, but on the other hand, that's not l'chatchila. L'chatchila, we hold up the pure picture of Torah that we can say is symbolized by Avraham and Yaakov, and we hold that up as the ideal.
What's l'chatchila?
So here's the sapachas thing.
What?
What's l'chatchila?
Like Jesus says in the beginning, l'chatchila means how things should be at as they should be. B'diavad means how they are after life has happened. Your color commentary translations are very useful, Jacob. Don't downplay your usefulness. Baruch Hashem. Chadesh Yamenu Kikedem. Make new our days like old.
Zapachas, the Germa Zapachas, they're a foreign entity. They're a foreign entity to the body of the Jewish nation. But it's something that happened to us. Like I said, we're also not original. We're not the original Jews. So there's this something that's foreign to the original Judaism, but that's really a reflection of the fact that we become foreign to the original Jews, and therefore the Ger and us have something in common. So, go ahead.
Original Jews, you mean as far as the religion, or historically, as in, we're not
ancestry?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the religion. I'm talking religion. Because you can have a Ger, or you can have someone descended from Gerim that became integrated. So even though the Zohar says in the future, in the days of Mashiach, it's only Hashem and the Jews, it doesn't mean that the Gerim who are integrated in well integrated in the Jewish people, they're not going to be kicked out. Okay, the Zohar talks about the Erev Rav being removed, because Erev Rav is this idea that look, not all Gerim actually integrated.
The Erev Rav is the mixed multitude that came up out of Egypt.
They don't take so well to the body of the Jewish people, like the Sapachas. It's either rejected or it works out. So it's ultimately about being faithful to the Das Hashem. But we're not faithful to it. That's our history of Chet, and now we have to figure out a way back. And therefore, our stance to the Ger has changed. Okay, but here's what's going to happen. Let's say we turn to the Ger and we say, "Oh, we really want you, right? We love you very much." We don't take a stance on neutrality. What does Rashi say? Back to the Rashi. Okay, going back to Rashi. Ger comes along and we tell him, "You should know. We want you to know that I am neutral to this whole project of yours." That's what Rashi says. That's the message. Why are we giving that message? Because we have a tightrope to walk over here, which is that on the one hand, we need the Ger and what the Ger represents, which is that we need to find a way back towards original Judaism, to Das Hashem, that allows for the fact that we're not perfect and not the way it was envisioned in the first place. But on the other hand, that's not something that we embrace. We're not proud of that. We don't think that's a good thing, all else being equal. We wish that we never have been exiled. But in other words, right? If you're going to embrace the Ger, then it's like you're saying, "Oh, this is great, this is fine. Falling is fine, sin is fine, exile is fine." It's not fine. And this stance that it's not fine is very important, because like I said, that's the way we hold up Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Moshe, and the original pure model vision of Judaism. We hold it up as being the ideal by not embracing where sin has brought us to. So it's important for us to take the stance on the Ger of neutrality, because that way we can, on the one hand, have the benefits of Gerus, which is that our sins can be rectified and reintegrated. On the other hand, we can't run after it too much and embrace it. Okay, I'll give you another example. Like, let's say, here's maybe a good example.
I guess we do
a lot of
episodes of people running after the sin, thinking that was a good thing to bring back into it.
Right, for sure. But yeah, you don't have to get that. That's really like a kind of theological, metaphysical thing. You don't have to go that deep. Let's say you'll have let's say American Jewish kids get into actors. Let's say, okay, so like, oh, an actor comes from the guy. Oh, that's great. That's exactly what we're talking about. Why is it great? Because then the kid, everyone who loves actors, will see that even the actor chaps Judaism good, and they'll realize that you could appreciate whatever you appreciate about actors, whatever it is exactly that people appreciate them, and that itself could somehow be brought to serve Hashem. And that will be a great ticket for the kids, the Jewish kids who are into actors. Okay, fine, that I accept. That's exactly what we're talking about in a nutshell. But what if I'm like, oh, an actor, I want to get this actor from McGuire because it'll be amazing. So what you're doing by saying that is you're giving your stamp of approval to the fact that everyone's into actors. Well, they shouldn't be into actors. But they aren't actors, but they shouldn't be. So Mela, I want to go on record as saying, if a new actor's name, nobody knows an actor's name yet, okay? If Leonardo DiCaprio wants to be McGuire, you should know I could not care less. That's the point. That's the whole point. Because if I'm going to say, the guy, what I'm doing is, mechazik.
What about if he's known for the midas that like people are that's the midas that everyone's having a hard time with?
Right. So again, so I really do want him. No, so I do want him to be a guy. Whoa. See, when I just said that, I'm neutral. I really want him to be a guy, but I have to take a stance of neutrality, because if I'm going to overtly engage in his gayness as a positive thing, then that risks.
Okay.
Right. I'm embracing and falling after my sin instead of saying, look, I'm in a bad state. I need a Yeshua. Part of the problem is that Oil Mike's acting. If DiCaprio is McGuire, it's going to help for that. Yeah, it's going to help for that. But I can't get too excited about it, because I get too excited about it, it's basically saying that it's okay that people aren't this. Really, it's not okay. Really, they shouldn't be interacting. So the stance of neutrality is a way of capturing this nuance. Okay, this is a very subtle kind of stance that we on the one hand get the benefits of the Geras when it happens, but we have to be very careful not to run after our those Midas Royce and say, yeah, we're in it, we're in that whole thing. No, we had some.
It's like a covert mission. Like really, that's
Sort
what we're
of,
here for.
yeah,
but we
but-
just can't endorse that. That's what
Right,
we're here for.
exactly. It's a little bit political, but also it's psychological and political. No, I think it's both.
It's also chasing where's the person coming from.
Exactly. So it's a political move. It's important to take a stance of neutrality politically. We don't want to endorse it, but also I think psychologically. In other words, we can't get too excited about it because then what that does is that it affirms our Midas Royce too much. And we have to say, look, we have these Midas, but we're not like them, and this is our way of doing it.
So why don't we do the missionary work? Like just good.
What?
Good. Nothing act. No, forget about all the bad stuff.
Right.
Actors.
Right.
Why do we go out and recruit?
Again, because we don't need it to be Jewish. We don't need it to be Jewish. No, we don't. We really don't. We really don't. We don't. Then knows the end game. The end game is not that everyone should be Jewish. You want to teach Das Hashem to the world? You definitely should. Now the question of teaching Torah to the non-Jews, you have to look into that. It's a question. Halacha question. Real
I think
question.
Shlo's point was valid.
Yeah.
There are good midos in the non-Jewish world.
Exactly. That's what we're talking
That
about.
could be a benefit for us.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Why are they a benefit for us? Because either we're going to have Jews to begin with. Now, do we have them or not? I mean, if we don't have them, saying that
But the assumption is that we always had those good midos back in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I mean,
No, that's the assumption of Torah. That is the assumption of it. The assumption of Torah is that Das Hashem is everything. You're good to go if you have it. And anything that's wrong with us is because we deviated from assumption of Avram Yitzchak are the perfect people. Avram Yitzchak, Moshe, etc. The perfect people. That's the Torah's model. And then anything wrong is a deviation from that. And then anything we do that's not involving that story is because once we deviated, as we discussed, that whole thing. Okay, fine. So that's the point about what I was finished the thing that in the Moshe Mashiach, we don't need this game again because once we rebuilt Das Hashem, then Hashem brought it down convening Melanecha. Now that we are not with Hashem as we started at the beginning of this year, Das Hashem is a fine idea to us because we're a little bit mixed in with these Il Nechars, with these Shivim Sarim, with all these other ideas. So now we need the Gerim. Once we're going to reconstruct it and finish our mission, then we don't need them anymore. There's no function to them anymore. Just so go ahead.
Thinking like this, it seems like it's all for us, and then they're just a pawn, but for Meister now they're a yid.
Right. No. So it's all for the mission of Das Hashem. It's all for the mission of that's the answer. It's not for us. There's the Torah. We are tools for the Torah's mission.
we're the pawns also.
We're the pawns. Yeah.
So now
Exactly.
it's another-
Just incorporating another point.
In the sense that, well, I mean, look, what does it mean you're the pawn? Are you the pawn to making money because you want to make money? No. If this is an important project, then you should do it. And yeah, I think it's important. And you should also think it's important to do the project of teaching of spreading Das Hashem. That's our particular role. And their role is to live in the court of Das Hashem, not necessarily to teach it, as we discussed before. But I don't think it's a differentiation. It's not like we're utilizing them, we're manipulating them. Everyone's looking for the good. There's only one thing to look for in this world. Is the good. And what's the good? To find the good. And figure out what to do about it. There's not much more to do.
This all rests on a presumption of perfection beyond which I handle, at least perceived affairs.
Okay, these are good questions. Excellent questions. No. I mean, the answer to that, in short, is that the Avos themselves didn't reach this. They truly did not reach Das Hashem. But Avraham Avinu said, "Bama Eda." That was one of his sins. And Yaakov said, "Yeah." So it's an ideal. So it's a theoretical ideal. Yeah, it's a theoretical ideal which they got the ball rolling on. Let's say. Okay. I mean, look, in a shir like this, and this I'll conclude with this. I'm talking in the abstract, and we're also talking in a very absolute terms, and nothing is absolute. But the Torah gives us a model. And for understanding the model, certainly in the time allotted to us, it's worth thinking about it in very absolute terms. But yes, absolutely nothing is quite like that in this world. These are ideas. I want to just end with a diak in the Gemara and then make one more point. When the ger comes to Megayer, we tell him, "Mara isa shabbat is Gayer." Don't you know that the Jews are persecuted? That's a very funny question. I'm so used to this, everyone knows this, but it's such a weird question. Mara isa shabbat is Gayer. What motivated you to come? Don't you know that Jews are persecuted? What do you mean? I'm motivated to come. What's to serve Hashem? What type of weird question is that? You want to say by the way, it's a bad idea. Okay, fine, but it's not like that. We tell them, why are you doing this? Okay? What's going on? Why do you want to serve Hashem? The answer is serving Hashem does not mean being Jewish. All right, as we discussed. So now I know everyone's so confused. What does serving Hashem mean? I thought serving Hashem means okay. This is our work we have to do. Torah serves serving Hashem for the Jewish people. This is the way the Jewish people are supposed to serve Hashem. This is their role in the world. You want to serve Hashem? You have your role in the world. What do you want to be guided for? Oh, you like the Jewish way of serving Hashem? Why would you like the Jewish way of serving Hashem? It's full of suffering. It's not shishmak. It's not kedai. That's what's going on if you want. So again, to bring the last point, we're talking about these things in a very abstract way. So I think we have two main things to work on, which is number one, to figure out whether these things can be understood in an actual way, instead of these great abstractions that we have to limit ourselves to in order to study it. And the second thing is more difficult is to see what can be done about this. Is to see, how do we find the original Das Hashem? How do we teach it to all the nations according to their roles? This is a general outline, but we have to fill it in a practical way, and we have to see if we can do it in a practical way, which is the work of Geula. May we soon be zeicher to it.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. So does that mean we never had this ideal, or we
Super random question.
Super random answer.
So there's these 70 angels and yada yada yada, and like the nations have this relationship with these 70 angels, and but with Israel it's like, they're buddy buddy with God. So how
It's a
does
direct relationship.
so how does like, Michael fit in with that? Like, where is he at?
Ask Michael. Advice. You're
I asked-
asking me? What
I
are we-
asked rather Rabbi Birkin, and he was like, "No, don't talk to Michael."
Well, no, actually, he said he wasn't sure about
That's
that.
true. That's true.
But
That's true.
I mean, look, the fact is that despite the the question is, you have the Sarim, right, for the various nations, and you have a direct relationship. Banim atem la'Hashem Elokecha, right? What's that verse you guys mistranslate? According to the children of Israel, according to the
No, how do you children of Israel, buddy? It's the children of God.
according to the number of the children of Israel. Deuteronomy 32:8, which Christians completely misunderstand because they use the Septuagint translation, which is also found in, I think, the Samaritan Torah.
The children of God are the angels. Like, it's that simple. How do you get Israel?
Says in the Hebrew, Behanchil Elyon Goyim behafrido b'nei Adam yatsev gevulot amim lemispar b'nei Israel. Was it the one before it? Zachor Yomot Olam Bein Binu Shenot Dor Vador Sha'al Avicha ve'yegetcha Zekenecha v'yomru lach Ki chelek Hashem amo Yaakov Chevel Nachalato. Right? So the 70 nations have their inheritance according to the number of the children of Israel. Right? When divided their inheritance to the Most High, the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the numbers of the sons of Bnei Israel. But there is a variant reading, which I think the whatchamacallit, let's see, LXXX. Come on. Septuagint. How do we get to the Septuagint? Interlinear Septuagint? No. There we go. 32:8 was it? 7. Remember the days of the eon, perceive indeed the generations, ask your father, you will announce. 32:8. When divided into part, the heights, nations, as he disseminated the sons of Adam, he set the borders of nations according to the numbers of the angels of God. So that's what the Septuagint says. And so Christians tend to take that understanding. But look, ultimately, anybody should be able to turn towards God directly, and hopefully, yeah, even lachatchila, Gentiles as well should turn towards God. I literally said giving away the secrets, and the rabbi has video titles "The Secrets of." I am so confused. Yeah, well, was the question what's St. Michael's territory? No, the question is why bother with St. Michael since he is Sarva Apotropos. He is the he is the angel in charge of Israel. Like, why would we need that if it's Chavel Nachalato? The children of God are those with a message, angel, messenger, confirmed. So maybe the Jewish people are the angels who give us a message? No, that's not that. The question is, the nations have an angel to intercede with. Israel has a direct relationship with God, so how does St. Michael fit in? Yeah. I don't know, but I guess if messengers are angels and Jacob has messages, does that mean Jacob is an angel? Reading Greek on Jacob's channel is a miracle, confirmed, if you say so. Okay, are we done here?
What brought you to watch that video of Rabbi Burton's in particular?
That video has been open as a tab on my browser for like a month. I've been meaning to be I like Greek. It's pretty to look at. Okay. Keep what going? What am I keeping going? How can I be bored?
That whatever and God desired to kill Moses verse is it's gonna keep me up at night.
I don't get it.
If Moses, the God seer,
yeah,
is catching hands from God, like, what hope do I have? I'm
you have no hope.
I'm done for.
You are done for, but that's
I'm not reaching 120 years. I know it. I know it.
That's not the point. The point is you do your part, and the rest is up to God. You do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
We don't expect perfection from anybody. I'm being accused of being a troll.
So do you think I should learn Hebrew before reading the Torah or after reading the Torah or where in this whole scheme?
Yes, Yon God on Twitter. I don't know how you can read the Torah if you don't know Hebrew. Oh, you mean in English translation?
Yeah. No.
Tana debe Eliyahu, Me'id ani alai shamayim va'aretz, bein ish, bein isha, bein goy, bein Israel, bein eved, bein shivcha, hakol lefi ma'asav, ruach hakodesh shora alav. He's quoting from Tana debe Eliyahu, an ancient Jewish work. I give testimony, heaven and earth, whether man or woman, whether Gentile or Jew, whether a slave or a maidservant, all is according to a person's deeds that the Holy Spirit of prophecy Shora love. How do you say Shora love? Alights upon him? Maybe. Is the midrash of Moses eating a burning coal as a 3-year-old related to Isaiah having his lips cleansed by a burning coal? Well, I mean, Moses does refer to being arel sifatayim, being uncircumcised of lips. And how we got there was because somebody was asking about circumcision of the heart versus physical circumcision, and I Yon God, that was Ruach HaKodesh. The question was how you translate Shora love, not Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh is Holy Spirit, yes. The question was Shora love. What was I saying? So there's 3 forms of circumcision mentioned in the Bible. There's circumcision of the lips, and circumcision of the heart, and circumcision of the body. And as the Rebbe explained, those are the 3 levels of a person's faculties, which are the faculty to think, the faculty to speak, and the faculty to act. Right? And so circumcision of the heart refers to a person's thoughts, and they must become purified to do what God wants. And there's circumcision of the lips, which is a person's actions, speech. So a person must be purified to speak that which God wants. And the third is the circumcision of the body, which is our actions, of course, the holiest of which is the union of man and wife in creating children, which you should get better at, Yon God, because last I heard you still had failed to have children. You too, Andrew. You too, Jacob. Yeah, Yon God. When is the wedding and when's my invitation? Chezi is going to jump on in 10. Jacob, stop reading Twitter. It's just textual poison. You're probably right. How can Jacob go to your wedding if he doesn't know when it is? This is a good question. Not to get in trouble, but doesn't Judaism have to be okay with Christianity and Islam because Judaism and Noahidism did not scale? People need a place to go on the weekend to worship in community. Well, once the Christians and the Muslims submit to rabbinic authority and we purify it, it'll be great. All of the churches and mosques will indeed turn into holy places without any of the idolatry that currently corrupts them.
Of course we submit to rabbinic authority. We submitted to St. Paul.
If you say so. What's so funny? There's no trouble to get into. What's the trouble?
So did the this is another random question. Did the whole like Pesher whatever interpretation method survive in Judaism? Like, is there any idea that the prophets had no idea what they were yapping about? But you know, now in our day, we totally know what they were talking about. Like this interpretation.
The idea that we can understand things in additional ways to the prophets is still alive in Judaism, yes.
Okay.
But Ein Hamikra Yotze Mi'edei Pushuto, a verse cannot escape from its plain meaning.
Yeah, you know, Schiffman kind of crystallized.
Who's Schiffman?
Say again?
Who's Schiffman?
Oh, Lawrence Schiffman. He's one of the main guys on the Dead Sea Scrolls. He's
Have you been reading books again?
who would have thought? I'm on airplanes, man. There's nothing else to do.
You could be flirting with the ladies.
Yeah, on the way to Chicago. Oh yeah.
There are some pretty ladies in Chicago.
No, they're not. It's cold. They're all fat.
Well, now we know Andrew's type, at least.
Yeah, he crystallized for me how like usually like interpretations are how oh my gosh, did I lose it? I might have lost
Apparently you lost it.
Oh, I might have lost it. How he's talking about how like Enoch and whatnot are the opposite of interpretations. Like usually there's the literal and you have to ground your symbolic in your literal or whatever. But with Enoch, it's like there's not even a literal. We're just making stuff up. We can do anything.
You're right. With Enoch, they were just making shit up. There's
Honestly,
a reason it didn't make it into the Bible.
I love the premise of Enoch though. Like the dude ascended to heaven. He must have done something right. Let's just throw stuff at the wall. What did he get right? Well, he had the right calendar. Well,
None of
he
which
was
is in the
perfectly
Bible.
righteous.
It's so funny. I remember when I first started talking to Sam, like my example for someone who lived a sinless life, as sinless as can get, was Enoch. I
Mhm.
didn't realize Enoch was such a huge thing for Christians.
Mhm.
But it was like, look, the Bible says, he God like took him. He didn't die. So like, why are you so hung up on this supposed Jesus guy that supposedly, let's say he was as sinless as Enoch. So who cares? There's Enoch.
Yep.
What difference does it make?
Yeah. But you see, he was more sinless because everyone had original sin and Jesus didn't. And no, man, I wish you guys made more like wisdom literature. Where'd all that go?
It's all in Proverbs. Have you read Proverbs?
Yeah.
Have you read it again?
Dude, half of it is on like getting a wife. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Get a wife.
In Chicago? Oh,
Sure.
okay. If you
I
say
don't
so.
care where you get your wife. I have placed 0 restrictions on your wife. She should be female, though.
Dun dun dun. But that's like fascism, man.
Fascism. What is a woman?
What is a woman?
He's been listening to 1840. You should stop that. Fat girls
What?
need love too. See? Yon God gets it. Well, he doesn't get all of it. Andrew, get a Jewish wife and convert her to Christ. Hey, every single one of your ancestors was able to find someone to procreate with. It can't be that hard.
That's what she said.
Every single one was successfully able to procreate.
That's what they all say.
Now it's your turn. Wondering what Chazi wanted to talk about.
Dun dun dun.
I guess we'll never know because I'm ending the stream right now.
Damn. You know,
Nope.
with the Apocrypha, I started with the wisdom literature, and I think it just kind of went downhill from there, you know? Like, wisdom, man, that's where it's at. That is where it's at.
You listen to too much Raveki.
I listened to too much for Vakey. I've hardly listened to him much at all. I finished his Meaning Crisis series, and well, I finished like 4/5 of his Meaning Crisis series, and then that was it.
Somebody convinced you that wisdom is where it's at.
Well, where's it at? Are you gonna say fear of God? Oh, that's the beginning. That's the beginning.
Hey, that's not a bad one. That is not a bad one. That would work.
That would work. I'm trying to become more fearful. God help me.
I
Save
think
me,
you
please,
are
for the love of
fearful
God.
enough.
What?
I think you are fearful enough. Fear of God, not women. Ha! Chazi says, don't wait for me. Not gonna happen. Was waiting for Godot like this? There we go.
But
Vervaeke is just distributing his own Meaning Crisis to everyone else. I don't think he has problem paying rent. Well, if Chazi's saying don't wait for him, it probably means he's got stuff to do. So unless somebody's gonna jump on, I'll give it 3 minutes. Colonimus wants to jump on. I know it. Did you finish your OSHA stuff?
no, it's 30 hours. I finished the 10-hour one. But
It's Dr. Shara!
how's it going, Marcus?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes. Are you still in Vegas?
I'm still in Vegas. I'm here at Harry Reid International Airport.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of things.
Slot
Slot
machines?
machines. Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like hell, but I'm enjoying it.
So how long until your flight?
My flight is in 3 hours, and then I'm gonna be in DC, and then I'm gonna take the subway to the city, and then a train up to Philly.
Good luck with it, man.
So you're going to visit your parents?
Yes, and then for the job interview.
Oh, it's the job interview. Okay. But I thought they already extended that 2-year fellowship to you.
Yeah, but you know,
You
gotta
want
keep your
to
mind
see
open.
which one you're gonna do? You're still wondering?
Yes.
You know you're gonna take the 2-year fellowship.
No, I don't. I don't. Because I have no idea what the world's going to be like in 2 years, so it might be worth taking the index fund.
Yeah. Well, like I said, pray on it.
Yeah.
And whatever you end
Yeah,
up
yeah.
doing, no regrets.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Shadow knows she's about to get her claws clipped. That's why she's trying to run away. Not gonna happen. Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about, Marcus? If you're still here.
I didn't hear that at all.
What do you
said,
want to
what
talk
do
I'm
you
getting
about?
want
pretty
to
bad connection, so I
You're
might just
setting
drop
the
out. If I
topic
drop
of
out,
conversation.
talk?
Huh?
You can talk about whatever you want, Marcus. What do you want to talk about?
I think you froze.
Apparently, he did freeze.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's no bueno.
It's because they want him playing on the slot machines.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting your claws clipped because that's what happens. You can complain about it all you like. Wow, it's been a while since I clipped her claws. Some of these are really long. One more hand. Last hand, I promise. You don't have any more claws to clip. Stop complaining. Stop complaining so much. Your claws are too long. What's so funny?
The poor cat, you're torturing her.
I'm not torturing her.
Look at
She
her.
needs to have her claw. She needs to have her claw. One last claw. It's the last one. Last one. There you go. See? Are you happy now? No more claws clipping. Airport Wi-Fi didn't work. Okay, where were we? Apparently, Yon God's head is not itching. My head doesn't itch when I shave it.
Oh, Hezzy's coming.
He says he's coming.
He says he's. I'm a little worried for my cousin.
Why are you worried for your cousin?
Because he's a junior in high school. And, you know, it's the typical case of I have no idea what I want to do, and I'm not doing anything about it. And, you know.
Is he also in Indiana?
Yeah, he's in Indiana.
Does he want to come to trade school with you?
He doesn't know what he wants to do.
It's Hezzy!
How's it going, Hezzy?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Nothing much.
We were waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
We will never forgive you, ever.
It's our pleasure to wait for the great Rabbi Hezzy Spiro.
This is post Purim, so the kids are off for a few days, and they're going back. Well, my daughter is going back to kindergarten. A little more difficult than anticipated. So
Have you started cleaning for Pesach, or do you just sell the house and go whatchamacallit?
Go on a program?
Yeah.
Yeah, after 2,000 years and God clearly wanting us to come back to the land, no, I don't agree with leaving Israel and
you don't have to leave Israel. There are programs in Israel.
The problem is the programs in Israel suck, and they cost way more than the better programs abroad. So
there are plenty of people. I actually considered coming for a thing. Do you drive a manual, Chazi?
Do I drive a manual? No.
No. Okay, so you're not that crazy.
No, I'm not that crazy. First of all, Jacob. First of all, Andrew and Jacob, hope you both are doing well. That's number one.
Baruch.
How was your Purim?
Purim was nice. I mean, I had this seminar class I had to take, which was 8 a.m. but 8 a.m. Central Time. So I had to be in class 6 a.m. online.
Oh, man.
And it was 3 days and basically all over Purim. So it was annoying, but I got that class out of the way. So, and I didn't miss any classes, so I don't have to repeat it. So I'm happy about that more than actual Purim.
Not needing to repeat it, that was your moment, right? Where you're like, I could skip this, but you gotta finish it. Your moment to shine. So Purim was nice. A lot of. For a moment. this conversation. So my brother, who lives here, my rabbi brother, different people have been speaking on the Sabbath. My brother has been asked to speak multiple times. I've spoken a few times, but that's only because my brother declined and asked me to speak instead. And I told my brother, it's inevitable, right? You're going to become the rabbi of the community over here. And other people are talking about it as well. And his attitude is no. So I'm not interested in that. And we were at someone's house party, current party, which I would say it wasn't really my scene. The behavior wasn't really my scene. But I'm not trying to be annoying towards people in the neighborhood. I don't want to be snobby. So I went there for a little. And my brother was there as well. We were really sort of more talking on the side. And the host.
And we lost Chezi. So when Chezi says it wasn't his type of scene, what he means is there was no mixed dancing. And if there's no mixed dancing, Chezi's like, what's even the point?
He's trying to come back. It's not happening.
Is he trying to come back? I think he's probably on the phone.
Had a loading screen.
All of this suspense.
The moment.
Connie, is that your horse? Do you actually own a horse? Aww. Connie's horse passed away. Well,
there he is.
Hello?
Oh, it's too expensive. I thought she died, not that. Okay. Connie had a horse, but apparently she sold it. You were saying Connie had a horse, but apparently she sold it.
I was saying that the host of the party came to my brother and was saying, Rabbi, aren't you going to be excited to be the rabbi of the community? So my brother said, he's like, if I was the rabbi of the community, I wouldn't be able to be in this party.
Why?
And he was like, why do you say that? So my brother said, because right now, I'm not the rabbi of the community. He's like, so my standard is less. I'm like, and that's because I just don't think I'm good enough. He's like, if I was the rabbi,
The host?
I wouldn't want my rabbi being in a place like this. And the guy, he's like, don't get offended.
Don't get offended. Oh my god.
There was, I don't know if it was mixed dancing, but there was just music, and I don't need to be looking at, let's say, my neighbor's wife dance. It's just, why would I need to be in a space where that's happening? So he's like, don't get offended. He's like, I'm at your party right now, right? I'm here. I just if I had that other, and this is the argument I tell you a lot. I'm like, I sort of hear that. I prefer more flexibility without that title. But I told my brother that it's too late. It's what the community is going to demand from you. And by hook or by crook, it's going to happen. So he's right now in his denial phase, but I think he'll end up becoming the rabbi of the community.
Yeah, so
Don't make me a
Kol
rabbi.
haposel b'mumo posel.
So there was another party Saturday night that I didn't go to.
Did you even hear what I said?
I heard what you said. I heard. B'mumo posel. So yeah, it's just getting used to this new neighborhood and its new, it's interesting dynamics. It's fun. A lot a lot of meals, right? Friday was filled with like a massive breakfast with one like many other families, and then like a big lunch, and then a big dinner, and all of them are people getting. I don't want to say they were getting drunk, but people were drinking, I guess, appropriately for Purim, and speaking beautiful Purim Torah. So that is so that was very nice. I had worse expectations. So I'm happy. It was a good Purim.
Is the community as mixed as you were hoping, or is it just going to become a bunch of frumaks?
No, it's definitely mixed. I think more mixed that I want. I mean, not that I wanted, just I don't know if you and I discussed it in these terms. There's a term called light, right? The T light. I believe and I support the idea of, let's say, religious observance on a spectrum. Okay, well, I'll use you as an example. You clearly are less observant than most, let's say more Orthodox Jews, more observant than some. I would argue, though, that your idea, well, I'll separate. So there's the spectrum, right? And then there's light as an ideology. I am very against light as an ideology, which means, Jacob, you are not keeping all the mitzvot because you believe, no, I don't need to keep all of them. That's enough, and that's it. I know that there's a standard, and I am in that standard. I am in my own path, but I don't demand the standard be lowered necessarily. It's just I'm in my path. Now, I think the Orthodox community should look at people on that path very, very favorably and lovingly, and understand that that is part of a process, and that's fine. If most of the people in my neighborhood were like that, I'd be okay with it. However, there are some that I think they want a watered down version, and that's like the ideology. And like if it's like, it's not that I happen to speak during prayer time. I want to speak. I wanted to be able to be speaking during prayer time, and anyone telling me that I shouldn't be speaking during prayer time is like someone that's way too intense. So that's a harder ideology for me to work with. So I think there's like a lot of those in the neighborhood as well, and I think they're dealing with their own trauma of how they were raised, and like there's a lot of shelling off like what my parents told me, but I think they were just taught in a traumatic sense, and it's the wrong response for them. For this community, for example, is they have weekly classes. So one of the classes this rabbi is giving there is on the halachot of mezuzah, and it's been going on for 4 months. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? I'm like, what are you teaching for 4 months about halachot mezuzah, and how are you trying to reach the generation speaking about this? Like, that's just the wrong Torah to be focusing on with like this kind of community.
Like, how many people attend the halacha shiur?
Not many, but my point is, you're not giving. But there's a woman that gives a women's class though on like on the moon and Kabbalistic ideas, and her thing is packed. It's because people want Chassidut. They don't want to hear about how, or they do want to hear about a mezuzah. Give me one class, an hour class on Hilchot Mezuzah. The end. 4 months. I just laugh every time I even say that number. I just don't know what's happening there. I don't know if they're getting dressed up as mezuzahs, but yeah. So you need to engage people like
they're learning to be sofrim. That's the only reason I can imagine 4 months on Hilchot Mezuzah.
My 13-year-old cousin just finishes a sofer class with 7 other adults. His father's very intense with the kids. So he's writing his own Megillah for his bar mitzvah.
Wow.
Yes. So the Purim dynamic is interesting. talking to these people, engaging with these people on with regards to Torah has been very enjoyable. So there's like once a week we have like we have a kollel, like we learn there at night, and
By the
Thursday
way,
night,
did my
Thursday night.
cousin reach out to you?
He did. I reached out to him. I told him I was here, but then I haven't heard from him since. I'll reach out to him again. Is he still here?
I gave you the dates he was coming.
I just not remembering off the top of my head, but I did reach out to him, and he reached out to me. I said like I was available.
Well, he texted me and asked my other cousin, the other one that I wanted you to talk to. He wanted his phone number. When did he say?
Maybe I'm not cool enough.
You are definitely not cool enough. Yeah, I guess he is in Eretz Yisrael right now. I am going to text him. Watch, he'll call you right now.
I didn't realize at the beginning of your stream that Rabbi Burton was but I see you mentioned that you've been waiting on this for like a month.
You droided on us, so I didn't hear a word you said. But yes, I had been waiting on it for a while.
I said, you were waiting on it. Because one of the people asks a question that alludes to Christianity, and he sort of dodges it in that series. And I was wondering if that was sort of if that was happening post your conversation with him. But I see not.
Oh no, that video was 9 months old.
Right. I've been thinking about that a lot on that conversation and his sort of response. I shared it with my brother. What that means. I think that was like a very special moment.
What did you share with your brother? What he said on my channel?
Just that. No, what he said on your channel, that my brother has heard me speak, so doesn't sound novel to him. But I explained to him sort of the backlash, the letter,
Chazi,
his response.
Okay, like
I said
Chazi, this is not stuff I'm talking about publicly. This is not stuff for public conversation.
I got you, but it made me think. We won't discuss it any further, but it made me think. I've been reading this book I just got called Atidin L'Itchadesh.
Yeah.
It's about halacha in the future, and he tries to deal with like AI, the technological revolution, its effect on halacha, things that you and I discussed often. I just started it, and so far I like it because it's confirming my fears. But mentions over there talking about automated cars, and he gives her that Rav Yaakov Ariel was a prominent rabbi in Israel, gave about automated cars, and he says that I know there's Talmidei Chachamim that are talking about automated cars. They should basically cease all conversations about it. It should just be axiomatically decided that it's not, we can't use. He's like, either people will misunderstand what they say and think it's mutter, and even if the halacha says it's mutter, we shouldn't even be discussing this. This is not something that should be discussed publicly at all. And if it is being discussed, it should only be between people in the know and not be publicized.
What?
And I look at that, I'm like,
whether you can get on an automated car on Shabbos?
Crazy.
What's the Shiloh?
Sorry, you wrote it for a second, Jacob.
What's the Shiloh? Whether you can ride an automated car on Shabbos?
it wasn't even the Shaila. What Rav Yaakov Ariel is stressing is there's no point even discussing it. Either it will be too confusing, and even if it ends up being somehow halachically okay, we're not interested. So just don't have the discussion. And I am okay with deciding that, listen, because halachically there's an issue saying that this is prohibited, and we believe in Ovdin Dal, and we want an element, so we should make decisions that still codify it. That's fine. Don't even discuss it. It just indicates the fear that I was alluding to in our other discussion. But it's alive. Again, I wasn't telling you what the psak should be, right? Just saying like what would want to engage a conversation. We wouldn't. It's not very Talmudic to be nervous or to disengage from the conversation.
Okay, there are certain conversations I can understand not having in public. And the difference with what I was talking about was, it wasn't that there was a question of, is this something that should be or shouldn't be or whatever. Especially, I mean, look, this is not a conversation to have in public.
Fine, no problem. Onward to the next topic.
What's Purim Torah? And like, why do y'all do that? Why do y'all do it?
Purim
That's a good
Torah is
question.
like April Fool's. It's like April Fool's.
But why do y'all do it?
Because
like,
it's
I know
fun.
Why do we drink
Purim
on?
is like,
Why do we drink on
big
Purim?
celebration and
No, he's saying
costumes and-
Purim Torah.
Yeah.
No, so I'm saying Purim Torah, okay, is not regular Torah, because on Purim Torah, you are teaching from a place where you are inebriated. And one of the qualifiers, right, of what does that mean inebriated? Because you can't be plastered where like you're not, like you're just passed out on the floor, which unfortunately people get to. You're supposed to not know between blessed be Haman and cursed be Mordechai. Okay, which obviously is the opposite. The reason we want a position is because, well, we'll take a step back for this awesome story. She's the rock star. She does what she needs to do. Mordechai comes and says, like, you got to go to the king. No one ever gone to the king. If you go to the king without being invited, he's gonna kill you. You got to do it. I'm gonna do it. And if he takes my life, he takes my life. I got to do it. She does it, and the rest is history. And the rest of it, I just saw my brother randomly in the car behind me. Why on earth is my brother even in this region right now? That is very strange. Okay. So, but then the story of Esther ends. Mordechai gets propped up. Everyone loves Mordechai. He's the king. He's awesome. And Esther sort of gets forgotten. And this is sort of the sad story and the secret story, in a certain sense, of the story of Esther, which is we were kicked out. We're in exile. She has to adorn royalty, which our sages tell us, which is she is the symbolism of royalty leaving Judah, she comes from the lineage of Samuel, leaving Samuel and being moved on to Xerxes, to Achashverosh. Okay? And this also means that the Shekhinah herself. Oh, no.
What? No.
I see I was disconnected. But I was saying the Shekhinah herself is in exile as well. And that is
Kazi, you're
Very
joining on us. I'm gonna read comments while he's joining. Yes. So Purim, it's 1 day a year. Although actually in Israel you can make it 2 days, and some people do, because Purim is on the 14th in unwalled cities and the 15th in walled cities. So if you're on 14th, you're in Tel Aviv. On the 15th, you can go to Jerusalem, and you can have 2 days of Purim. It's even better than 1 day of Purim. But most people say that that's too much. You shouldn't be doing that. And while Kalonymus has bought into the Litvish silliness of having various interpretations of getting drunk, the halacha is ad delo yada. Isn't that in Shulchan Aruch? Since Chazi may or may not be back, I am actually going to look in Shulchan Aruch. Is Chazi back?
But why Purim Torah?
Purim Torah because it's fun. You were saying, Chazi. What Siman is Purim on? Let's ask Grok.
Jacob?
Yes.
You're back, Ezi. You're back. So you were saying the Shekhinah is in exile, and
I was saying the Shekhinah was also in exile with us. And this is the truth we still have to deal with today. That even though I'm a big proponent that we're back to the land, and I would argue that the Shekhinah even is returning, that nevertheless we're still in exile in a certain sense, and in a large sense. And the Shekhinah is not with us. And that is one of the secrets of Purim, which is God's name is not mentioned once in the whole story of Esther. And even her name, Esther, can be seen as a hidden, lahastir, means that you don't see me anymore. And our sages say that, the Israelites accepted the Torah at Mount Sinai, but they really had no free will at that point. Because how can you say no to God after you experience the plagues, the splitting of the Red Sea, and Sinai, right? It's just too overwhelming, and you have to say yes. Now, our sages say that after the story of Purim, the Israelites, the Jews of the world, have decided to consciously accept the Torah again, but from their own free will. And this is part of the secret of Purim, which is you need to be in a place where God is totally hidden, where you don't see the miracles, where you're fully immersed in exile. When your hero is called Mordechai after the name of Marduk, and Esther is called Esther after the Asher, and another idol worship. So you had we were fully embedded in the world of, even there, right? Even in the darkest depth, God is there. And once you could realize that and see that, you could then crawl your way out of that darkness and emerge. To the light, which is why
Chazi, turn off your video.
everything we've been told up until this point from God, you know what? That is the secret of Purim.
Perfect.
We didn't hear a single word you said. Turn off your video.
Okay, where was I cut off?
No, you were good. You were like, it's the deepest, darkest depths, and God isn't mentioned, but He's with us, and yeah. Perfect.
Dine Seudat Purim, the laws of the feast of Purim. Chayav Inish Lebesume. This is Orach Chaim 695-2. A person is required to become Besume. I mean, how did they translate Besume? Intoxicated. Okay, they translate intoxicated. Chayav inish lebesume bepuria ad de lo yada bein arur Haman Baruch Mordechai. He is required to become intoxicated on Purim until he cannot tell the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. Hagav yesh omrim del ain't sarich lehishtaker kol kach. So the Rabbi Moses Isserlis says it's not necessary to become so drunk. Eila sheyishteh yoter melimudo. He should drink more than what he is accustomed. Ve'yishan umitach sheyishan eino yedea bein arur Haman levarach Mordechai. Until he falls asleep, and since he's asleep, he doesn't know the difference between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. Ve'echad hamarbe ve'echad hamamit. Whether a person does more or does less, ubilvad shichben libo l'shamayim. What's important is that he should set his heart towards heaven. Ve'ein lehitanot bepurim milvad ta'anit chalom. A person can only fast on Purim if he has a nightmare. So the Purim lachar mincha. I don't see anything else he says about it, but
yes, again, no one should get insanely drunk. That's not the idea. But the idea, I mean, and this is sort of
certainly not so drunk that he shechts his friend.
Right. There is a story like that. But he brings it back to life. That's another mini resurrection story. What was I going to say? That we also see this idea with we spoke about this in Maimonides, how the rabbis, when they got tired, it says they would crack a joke. And you could ask, if you're physically tired, why don't you just go take a nap? Why are you cracking a joke? And the idea is, cracking a joke, you're tired, that means you're at the limits of your mental capacity. And cracking a joke is a new paradigm that allows you to open up new avenues or look at ideas topsy-turvy and maybe figure something else out. And this is also why Sarah laughs when she hears about the baby, because it's preposterous. It's so impossible that it almost leads to joy to think about, like, wouldn't this be crazy if we could live in a world where that's possible as well? And that's what laughter breaks out of, what allows you to break out of. So even drinking, we say nichnas yain yatsa sod, right? Wine comes in, secrets come out. And it's not supposed to be like, oh, I'm giving now my bank account, but rather, when I'm drunk, it's easy for me to integrate between good and evil and realize how these things all stem from the source, and potentially deal with and interpret things with a different mindset. And that's Purim Torah. I need to go fill my car up with gas, so excuse me for a moment.
Just in case anybody doesn't understand what Purim Torah is when you, for example, James Tabor got caught out on this because there's a website that's usually talking, it's an Orthodox Jewish website that talks about archaeology stuff. And so he was used to taking it seriously. And they published an article talking about how a scroll was found among the Dead Sea Scrolls that was actually the Book of Esther. Now, famously, the Book of Esther is nowhere to be found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the article talked about how the problem had been that it was so stained in wine that they couldn't read it. Therefore, once they had advanced ways of, let me see if I can actually find that shtickle of Purim Torah. Esther. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Yeah, so this website here, this is a shtickle Purim Torah. So this website, thedora.com, is generally a serious website, but it's Purim, so they wrote this thing, and James Tabor got caught out with it. He thought it was serious. Newly deciphered Qumran scroll revealed to be Megillat Esther, the scroll of Esther. The discovery upends decades of research addressing the question of why the Book of Esther is missing from Qumran. And one of the ways you should know that this was a joke is it was written by Dr. Rabbi Asher Tov Lev, which means the doctor rabbi who is happy at heart, right? Cave 4, where the 10Q at ESTH was alleged to have been found. Obviously, there's no 10th there's no 10th cave in Qumran, but whatever.
There's a 10th cave.
They
found like 3 fragments there, but there's a 10th cave.
I didn't think there was a 10th cave.
There's like 12 of them, I think.
How many caves in Qumran?
I know there's an 11th one.
There is?
Yeah.
Well,
How many?
Apparently 40 of them.
40 caves?
Yeah, contained artifacts. There's 230 caves.
No, there's not.
This is what Wikipedia says.
There's many, many caves.
Yeah, okay, so I might have been wrong.
At least 11. There's at least 11.
Nearly half a century ago, archaeologists found a scroll in the Qumran caves that was unreadable as a result of a 2,000-year-old wine spill. Due to the extensive staining, the scroll could not be opened or read. Curators stored it away in the archives, hoping that new technology might one day emerge to make the scroll legible. 2 scientific breakthroughs. 2 such technological breakthroughs, serendipitously discovered just moments apart, have finally made reading this ancient wine-soaked parchment possible. A team of archaeologists and chemists at the Technion in Haifa discovered that the wine could be extracted from the parchment using a highly delicate process known as a little bit of seltzer. At the same time, researchers in the University of Bar Kamsa's Center for Torah UMDMA, Torah Umada is a joke. I mean, Chas v'shalom. Torah Umada is a historical philosophical school within Judaism of studying both the Torah and sciences. So they're making a joke. Bar Kamsa is a name from the Talmud, but instead of Torah Umada, they're like Torah UMDMA, right? Which is MDMA is a psychedelic. Studies looked at recent scientific studies of the ability of psychedelics to enhance vision and realized that they could be applied to the study of the scrolls. Wonder what the notes say. MDMA.
All the jokes aside, Jacob, did you see that thing that Yosef sent? Did he send that to you? That's also
what?
This graduate school student that submitted some research that's being peer reviewed right now. I think it is from one of the Qumran. Maybe it's not one from the Qumran scrolls, but it's a scroll, very old scroll. I think it's dating back to the 1300 to 1400.
Mm-hmm.
And he claims that yes, with new technology, not MDMA technology, but new technology, it starts with Ne'um Moshe.
Okay, Ne'um Moshe. So
yeah, which would date that back. That would be a big smack in the face to a lot of researchers out there if you could find actual authentic scroll dating all the way back to the 1400s with Ne'um Moshe.
Why? I don't understand.
Where do you have Moses being discussed?
I don't know what. Just tell me. What are you talking about?
If you could have a document speaking about Moses that is 1400
BC?
BC.
This is real?
It's being peer reviewed right now. Yosef sent this to me. I was very excited. I didn't see anything on it online yet.
He didn't send it to me.
I'll send it to you when I get up.
Okay.
Someone a different podcast. So wait, does Andrew understand Purim Torah now? Is he happy with this?
I mean, I knew what it was. I was just like, why do you guys do it?
Because it's fun.
Because it's fun. Oh,
Well, it's more. No, I would say it's deeper than that because that is known to be the only holiday that's going to stay once the Messiah comes.
Yes, and the Day of Atonement will be a day Kippurim.
Like Purim, Kippurim.
Yeah.
And I think it also has to do with what I just said about the fact that the Israelites, the idea that we have accepted the Torah then again, which is that is the holiday that is supposed to stress the idea that God is everywhere and he's in all of it. And very much that, as we say that, you know, Moses' face is like the sun and Joshua's face is like the moon, and like as the generation grows, their need for miracles and leadership dwindles, right? And that's that's the culmination in the story of Esther. Less and less. I mean, there's less and less. Even if you look at it chronologically, how it's also written, you're being told that this is really the end of the period where we are relying on the prophets, when we're relying on that kind of connection, and we're going to do it ourselves. So hence we love it, Andrew. Next, Purim, you're welcome to join.
Do you think Purim Torah would be like a Pesher? Like,
No, Purim Torah is a joke.
no, in the Messianic age, would it be like a Pesher?
What do you mean by a pesher?
You know, like the whatever the Dead Sea Scrolls Pesher interpretation stuff, where it's like, oh, the prophetic stuff was actually talking about this and this age, and you know, like they didn't know what they were talking about, but now in our context, we know
That's
what this whole prophecy is all about.
So pesher, I got you mean like parshanut. Okay. We believe that the prophecy of the Hebrew Bible are true then, and they're most. They could be you could be true then. It could be true in the future as well. Right. So I'm saying you could have one pesher, and you could have one parshanut, and then you could have a deeper level of parshanut in its infinite wisdom that relates also to your context. I am not, and I would warn people from trying to do that themselves and trying to interpret these things or these verses and decide to claim what is what. And obviously, we're in a place right now where we don't have those sages, or we don't have the collective wisdom to be able to make those kind of discernments and decisions. But that doesn't mean it's eventually one will be able to interpret and understand and see how these things, just like they were true then, they were true now as well. I mean, that's also what we say in our blessing. We say Bayamim Ahem Bazman Hazeh. In one of the blessings we say about Purim, which is we're thanking God for the miracle that He did then in our days. But the miracle obviously happened then. But in our days is very much the mindset of realizing that miracle still reverberates and echoes until today. Jacob would disagree with this. I would go as far as saying, like, dealing with Iran today still, and its missiles and its stuff, these are all reverberating miracles that we still have. Nevertheless, even if you're putting away the state of Israel, the idea that the blessing that says that you say to what we say to this day as well is because we still feel the miracle, and we still see how these teachings and these prophecies we could still fill them with meaning into our day-to-day life. Does that answer your question with regards to the Parshanut, Andrew?
Yeah.
I hope. What's your obsession with Enoch?
I don't know, man. I mean, I like the premise. You know, Enoch must have done something right. So, like, Let's write it down.
That's not the only theory, though, that he did something right. There's theories that he fails, and God, feeling bad for him, doesn't want him to suffer. Similar in a certain way to one of the interpretations of why Moses doesn't go into the land, right? Which is, Moses, your soul, who you are, is too pure for this. And I'm taking you because you're ultimately going to be very upset, right? If them complaining about something makes you end up striking the rock, there's going to be many more complaints when we come into the land of Israel. And I know you want them to be like playing at your level, but they can't. So I'm going to not have you deal with this tension, and I'm going to release you from here. So that is one of the interpretations of why Enoch gets taken out, because he's a mismatch for the people. He doesn't manage to take down from the mountain his wisdom and teach the people. And Noah also fails in that as well, till Abraham. Right? We've spoken about this in the past, that Enoch is walking with God. Noah, God is walking in front of Noah, right? Where he realizes that my prophet, my pinnacle of man, needs more assistance, so I'm going to walk in front of him, and that's with Noah. But that also fails. And with Abraham, it's different, because Abraham walks in front of God. He's not waiting for the invitation, and he doesn't need to be walking side by side by God. He instinctively wants to do what God wants.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, like God doesn't make a covenant with Enoch or anything. It's just
what'd you say, Andrew?
God doesn't make a covenant with Enoch or anything. He's just two lines.
I mean, you have to look at it. You have to see it as Control Alt Delete. This didn't work. Just in those very few lines, there's a lot there. And you show that like there's a model over there that's not working and it's not relevant.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting.
I mentioned this in the past, that there's even a play of names with Enoch and Noah.
How so?
Well, their letter, the names of the Chanoch has Chet, Nun in it, and Noah has Nun, Chet in it. And Chanoch and Noach can be seen as also, Jacob, how do you say Nechama?
Comfort.
Comfort. Noah can be seen as comfort, because they all said, when they give him a name also, oh, he's going to bring comfort for us. But there's another sense that where those letters also come from chinuch, from education. And Noah and Enoch were supposed to educate, and they failed. Right? God tells Noah that he's going to destroy the world. Tell us, Andrew, how does Noah respond when God tells him he's going to destroy the world?
What about my family?
Yeah, he asks, "What about my family?" And he says, "No, go build an ark, and you can protect your family, you and your family. There's no fighting for what about the people? They try to do good. You have to understand." Comes Abraham. God tells him, "I'm destroying Sodom and Gomorrah." Everyone around that time knows Sodom and Gomorrah is a horrible place. Everyone knows what's up. Comes Abraham and says, "No, don't destroy them." Comes Moses and says, after the golden calf, "Don't destroy them, destroy me." That's what God is looking for. God is not looking for Noah to be like, save me. So he saves him because Noah's a good dude. But again, it sees that the model didn't work yet.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I mean, you're talking in a critical way of these figures, but in things like a large function of Jubilees is to try and you could say whitewash their reputation to bolster it, like for instance Enoch, well, he did give some writing to Noah, whether you want to say that's the first book of Enoch, and then Noah passes that down, and eventually somehow that becomes part of the Torah. So yeah, it's interesting how nowadays it's more acceptable to be critical of these figures, whereas in the past it was more of I don't know if you want to say glossed over, but yeah.
I agree with that. There's an idea in Israel called Tanakh Begova Ha'enayim, which means Bible studying Bible in what would be the translation in English? Like with all your cards on the table, so to speak. But basically, like, you know, not sugarcoating anything. And some people in the traditional world don't like this because, you know, you're quote unquote exposing certain things. Now, the Talmud and our sages have done this for years already. They just do it in code. They do it in reference. They allude to certain things that people that want to dig in deeper understand, and people that don't won't misconstrue some of these ideas. I gave an example of this once. Let's see if I could carry you through this for a second. There's a concept called a Misha Para. Okay, it's a curse that the sages put upon someone who basically changes his mind. Like I gave you this tool, we made a deal, we had an agreement, and then I renege on the agreement and I take it back. And there's I can't take you to court, so to speak, right? I can't do anything about it. But
no, this is at a rabbinic court, but you don't have enough evidence for there to be a court judgment.
Correct. Sorry, thank you for clarifying. Correct. My only tool basically at that point is that the sages come out and call me out. Now they call me out in this strange language. They say, "Misha para manshe dor mabul anshes dor medor palaga hu atidli para misha no mele diburo." So whoever he who what's me? How do you say para?
Who collected?
He who collected the bill from the people of Sodom, the people of the Tower of Babel, and the people of the flood, he will collect the bill from someone who reneges on a deal. Okay? Now, and that's the language. Now, people should ask, how does the people of Sodom, the Tower of Babel, and the flood, how have they have anything to do with someone reneging his word? Right? Why did they not use a story of Laban tricking Jacob about marrying his daughters, right? Working for double the amount of time. Like, why is this story? So Chazal in their infinite wisdom were aware, potentially, that in each one of those stories, Sodom, the Torah, story of Babel, and the Book of the Flood, they each have one unique word that only shows up one other place in the 5 books of Moses. And in each one of these stories, that each one has one of these unique words, those unique words, 3 of them together show up in one place. Where do they show up? They show up when Jacob is calling out, when he's blessing all the sons, he gives a blessing / rebuke to Simon and Levi. And he tells them that the words that I'm talking about are Samech Daled Mem, Zdom, with a Sodom, but it's not spelled with a Vav, which sometimes it does. Here it's only spelled with 3 letters. The term Afitz, which means I will scatter them, Tower of Babel, and Hamas, which means the land was full of thievery and horrible stuff, and that has to do with the tower, the story of the flood. So those 3 words all show up when he's rebuking Simon and Levi. And what is the rebuke of Simon and Levi? Because Simon and Levi, what did they do? Their sister was captured by Chatzor, and then there was a deal made that if you guys get circumcised, it's all good in the hood. They got circumcised, and then they reneged their word, and they murdered everyone. They get called out for this. Now, our sages knew we can't go out calling Simon and Levite point blank. It's not going to look good. Mm-hmm. And so we hide these little rebukes. We put them out there so someone that's reading it and looks in could realize, here too, our sages were also calling out this bad behavior. In today's day and age, we feel more free to be more brazen with our rebukes. I hope that happens together alongside with how much we appreciate and realize how much we love them and how much they've done for us. But yes, but looking at them as humans is not something that I think Judaism shies away from. It just, we see different versions of how that manifests. That was a long way of explaining to you where you could see that, Andrew. I hope that was clear.
I get you.
The other way, the Talmud also talks about the generation when Mashiach comes as Dor Chutzpah.
Yep.
It's the generation of audacity and brazenness. And we have a lot of brazen, audacious people in this world today.
Rabbi Cook would argue or interpret that audacity, saying that it's azut shebakdusha, which means like a holy audacity, as in. And this is my claim about even the social justice warriors, which like you're in a generation which just insane audacity, which is like it's basically almost sacred, it's almost holy. They just it needs to be tweaked. They need to realize the discernment between good and evil. But the fact that the generation today wants to be stand up and riot and call out and say like apartheid, like all of that is like you want your youth feeling that audacity, feeling that Greta Thunberg kind of audacity bubbling up, that this girl feels that she can now yap at the whole world about global warming. So we're almost there.
How dare you?
Everyone knows it's the Chabadniks that are audacious.
Yeah, did you see the video that Elijah put in memes? No. That was hilarious.
Which one?
Oh, this reminds me. You said Chabadniks, right?
Yeah.
So this reminds me, Jacob, and as I drive up to my office, I was talking to you about. I mistakenly said something about 4 messiahs to RJ, and mistakenly saying as in like it's a topic that you need to sort of like flush out. But then I mentioned that next time ask me about the Rebbe being Mashiach. So the Rebbe being Mashiach. I'll end on this note. As you know, many people, Andrew, think, not many people, there are people in the Chabad movement that think that the Rebbe is the Messiah. I would argue, and I think I'm correct, that to say that Jacob would say that the Rebbe could have been the Messiah. Right. So I would argue that they could both be true, that the Rebbe is not the Messiah, but the Rebbe was a Messiah. And the way you could say the Rebbe was a Messiah, al regel achat, as they say, is there's a discussion in the Gemara to the different names Messiah has. Okay, Hananiah, Menachem, there's other names there. What's interesting is that the rabbis over there, because we see this often in the Talmud, one rabbi brings a verse, and then another rabbi says, like, that's the wrong verse, I'm going to give a different verse. The rabbis here are not saying that. Here the rabbis are saying, this is what the rabbi's name, this is what Messiah's name is, and this is his verse. And then someone gives a different name and a different verse. You could interpret that saying that they're not disagreeing with each other, they're just talking about different aspects of Messiah or different Messiahs. Now, this is also in the context of, if you look at the Bible, you see Messiah is described differently, right? There's the warrior Messiah. There's the Messiah that he's going to just by his words, he's going to turn people's hearts. There's the Messiah that we see in Maimonides, right? This political leader. So, and there's the Messiah that the Rav Nachman from Breslov talks about that doesn't even build the temple. He plays music, right? So there's different messiahs. Now, Menachem, the Messiah of Menachem, who's also the name of the Rebbe, that is the Messiah of exile. And the Messiah of exile is because it alludes to King Hezekiah, who, if you think about it, King Hezekiah, there's many other rulers at the time. He's not the main ruler of the area at the time. The people of Israel are in their strongest place. Nevertheless, he brought Judaism to a certain place in exile where, as far as the prophets were concerned, or the sages tell us, that would have been qualified as a Messiah figure. And we also see this with Korush as well, right? With Cyrus. Now, you could say that the Chabad movement, culminating in the Lubavitcher Rebbe, this is the pinnacle of exile Torah. Okay, as in the Rebbe and the movement of Chabad showed us, were a showcase of how far you could take Torah in exile. You could build massive movements. You could bring it together. You could teach them about loving phylacteries again. And the fact that he never came to Israel is another point of because if you think about it, it's nuts that the Rebbe never came to Israel, right? But in a certain sense, he signified the Rebbe is the end of exile. He is there to show us this is the most Judaism could get to in exile, and with his death, and that model was there to signify the end of that and the coming of a new age. So to those people who say he's Messiah, I say he was the exile Messiah.
So just to make sure, when there's this whole discussion on the names of if we want to say messiahs, they don't say in one place da 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 and in another place da 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 da. They just cite the verses when Hazal talks about it.
Correct.
I'm actually looking up the exact thing because I remember it talks about Ben David, but I'm looking up the exact place he's talking about. It's 98b, right?
I think so.
In Sanhedrin.
Correct. Here, right?
Yeah. Amar Rav Gidel, Amar Rav, Atidin Israel Da'achli Shnei Mashiach. They are going to consume the...
Oh, shoot. I'll join you. I'm walking into my office.
Years of the Messiah. Amar Rav Yosef, Pshita. Rav Yosef says, isn't this obvious? Here, we'll actually read the English. And rather, who else will eat from them? Will Chilak and Bilak, two shoftless characters, eat from them? The Gemara explains that Rav Gidel's statement serves to exclude the statement of Rabbi Hillel, who says, there is no Messiah coming for the Jewish people, as they already ate from him, as all the prophecies relating to the Messiah were already fulfilled during the days of Hezekiah. Rav says the world was created only for the sake of David, by virtue of his merit, and Shmuel says it's created by virtue of the merit of Moses. And Rabbi Yochanan says it was created by virtue of the merit of the Messiah. What is, apropos of the Messiah, the Gemara asks, what is his name? The school of Rabbi Sheila says Shiloh is his name, as it is stated, until when Shiloh shall come. The school of Rabbi Yanai says Yinon is his name, as it is stated, may his name endure forever, may his name continue, Yinon, as long as the sun, and may men bless themselves by him. The school of Rabbi Hanina says Hanina is his name, as it is stated, for I will show you no favor, Chanina. And some say that Menachem ben Chizkiah is his name, as it is stated, because the comforter, Menachem, that should relieve on my soul is far from me. And the rabbis say, the leper of the house of Rabbi Judah the Prince is his name. As it is stated, indeed our illnesses he did bear, and our pains he endured, yet we did esteem him injured, stricken by God, and afflicted. Rabbi Nachman, what?
Why of Yehuda HaNasi in particular? Like,
good question. Good question. Rav Nachman says, if the Messiah is among the living in this generation, he is a person such as me, who already has dominion over the Jewish people, as it is stated, and their prince shall be of themselves, and their governor shall proceed from their midst, indicating that the Redeemer is already in power. Rav says, if the Messiah is among the living in this generation, he is a person such as our saintly Rabbi Judah the Prince, who was renowned for his sanctity, piety, and Torah knowledge. If the Messiah is among the dead, he is a person such as Daniel, the beloved man. Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says, the Holy One, blessed be he, is destined to establish another David for the Jewish people as the Messiah, as it is stated, and they shall serve the Lord their God and David their king, whom I will establish for them. It is not stated I established, but I will establish, indicating that the name of the future king will be David. Rav Papa said to Abaye, but isn't it written, and my servant David shall be their prince forever, indicating that King David himself will rule over the Jewish people. Abaye said, they will rule in tandem like an emperor and a viceroy. The Messiah will be king, and David will be second in command. Yeah. So that's the Talmud there.
Wilden.
Chezi said he did speak of that before. Hubris looks cool when spelled in Greek, if you say so. Everything looks cool. Actually, the Talmud says that Greek is called Yavanit because it is a beautiful language. I mean, at least Christians have a simple answer for who's the Messiah, and that does make things easier. I would say Christians need to read Acts 5 again. There's a plot twist, but I thought everyone has their own Torah. Multiple messiahs confirmed. I have no clue what you're saying. But it's late. It's midnight. I am going to sleep. Andrew should be in bed already. I'm going to use host's prerogative to put the Reverend Parcells to bed because he does need to get up in the morning.
Sorry, Reverend. Thank you.
But before he goes, I have a question. Let's say, God forbid, that I were to burn somebody at the stake for not being a Trinitarian. And I did not repent of that. Is that a salvation issue?
Sometimes Jacob takes that devil's advocate thing too far.
There a proverb that says something like, don't answer a fool according to his folly.
But there's a proverb that says, answer a fool according to his folly.
There is. Exactly right. I'm going to leave it to you guys to determine which of those was applicable in this situation as I go. So, but anyhow, good.
Thank
it was
you,
good
Reverend.
to, good to
Thank
chat
you.
with you all.
Thank you.
Good night.
The